Chapter 381, Scoop, You're Not Ready Yet, Are You? In early January, the wizards who had returned home for Christmas came back to Hogwarts. The first class of the new term was Care of Magical Creatures, and Gryffindor and Slytherin students made their way to Hagrid's hut with their books. However, this time there were no blast-ended Scroots on the field, and their substitute teacher had changed. An elderly witch with short gray hair and a very prominent chin stood in Hagrid's place. "Where's Hagrid?" Harry asked. "He feels a little uncomfortable," the witch replied, frowning slightly. "Dumbledore arranged for me to substitute. You can call me Professor Grapeline." Professor Grapeline led the students to the edge of the Forbidden Forest, where a beautiful unicorn was tethered under a tree. "Wow, it's so beautiful. How did she do it? Unicorns are hard to catch." The students expressed their admiration, and many of them began to warm up to this temporary professor. This felt like a proper Care of Magical Creatures class. While they didn't deny Hagrid's knowledge of magical creatures, the blast-ended Scroots were nothing compared to a unicorn. "Boys, stand back," Professor Grapeline said sternly. "Unicorns prefer to be touched by women. Girls, you can approach it carefully and relax." Under the professor's guidance, the girls approached the unicorn happily one by one, while the boys were left standing near the stables where Beauxbaton's Pegasi huddled together to resist the severe cold. "What do you think happened to Hagrid?" Harry asked Ron. "It wasn't a blast-ended Scroot accident, was it?" "Certainly not," Aaron interjected. "Hagrid is a professional in raising magical creatures. Neither the three-headed dog nor the acromantula could harm him. The blast-ended Scroot isn't even as tall as him. It would need to be much more powerful to hurt him." "I know a little bit about this," Draco said, smirking. "You didn't really ask Lucius to find a way to change the Care of Magical Creatures professor, did you?" Harry asked coldly. "What's the reason this time?" "Don't get me wrong. Although I wish he would be fired, it really has nothing to do with me this time," Draco replied, pulling a copy of the Daily Prophet from his pocket. "Look at this, and you'll understand." Aaron took the newspaper, and after reading only 2 lines, the corners of his mouth twitched. "So it fell into her hands. No wonder we have a new professor." "Whose hands?" Ron asked curiously. "Rita Skeeter, the most unscrupulous reporter," Aaron shrugged, handing the newspaper to Ron. The headline read, "Dumbledore's Big Mistake. Mad-Eye Moody is the defense against the dark arts teacher, but he is kind compared to the Care of Magical Creatures professor." Rubus Hagrid, expelled from Hogwarts in his 3rd year, has carved out a position for himself as the Care of Magical Creatures professor out of many eligible contenders. The article went on to mention Draco being injured by a hippogriff, Crabbe being bitten by a flobberworm, and other dangerous creatures like blast-ended Scroots. But the most shocking revelation was Hagrid's heritage. He was a half-giant. "This is too disgusting," Ron said with a strange expression. "It's one thing to be half-truthful, but to exaggerate the truth countless times is just wrong." "I have to admit, Skeeter has some skills," Aaron said with a sigh. "She even dug up Hagrid's mother's name, Fridwulfa. I bet Hagrid didn't even tell you that name." "Of course not. Why would he tell us his mother's name?" Ron asked. "That's not important. What's important is that half-giants don't have a good reputation in the magical world, and the blast-ended Scroot is a very dangerous magical creature." "I think Hagrid's teaching career might be over," Draco said triumphantly. "I'm afraid you're overthinking this," Aaron said dismissively. "This newspaper will make Hagrid uncomfortable for a while, but after the limelight passes, he'll naturally take over again." "Isn't it?" Draco frowned, dissatisfied. "The Daily Prophet has said all that about him, and he can still continue to teach." "Why not?" Harry asked eagerly. "The Daily Prophet has done a disservice to Fudge, who was still the Minister of Magic, to Dumbledore, who was also headmaster of Hogwarts, to Arthur Weasley, who was still in the Ministry of Magic, and to Harry Potter. Don't forget, Dumbledore is the headmaster and has an unusual relationship with Hagrid. Do you think he will fire Hagrid over an unrealistic newspaper article? Moreover, Hagrid has been a gamekeeper for decades. The Hogwarts students from the past few decades know him well and can all testify to Hagrid's character." Draco opened his mouth, feeling speechless. Harry and Ron exchanged glances and gave Draco a defiant look. "Someone's idea may not be realized," Harry said, smirking. Just keep dreaming, Draco retorted with contempt on his face. At least you don't have to face those disgusting snails. Harry and Ron looked at each other and lowered their heads in embarrassment. Although they didn't want to admit it, what Draco said was true. If they had to choose between a unicorn and a snail, they would choose the former without hesitation. Hagrid was so devastated by the article that he locked himself in his room and didn't see anyone for half a month. It wasn't until the end of January that Dumbledore, after repeated persuasion and comfort, convinced him to teach again. When Hagrid returned, he didn't make the students feed the snails, but continued to talk about unicorns, following Professor Grubbly Plank's class. As a gamekeeper, he knew as much about unicorns as anyone else. When the two pure golden juvenile unicorns were brought in front of everyone, almost all the students couldn't hide their excitement and joy. Ahem! Cubs are easier to spot than adult unicorns. They will turn silver around the age of 2, start growing horns at the age of 4, and turn pure white when they become adults. Additionally, the cubs have no defensive instincts and won't be wary of boys. You can come and pat them if you like, or offer them sugar cubes. For a while, everyone was watching the cubs with great interest. The girls were very excited, and the boys were also deeply attracted by their cute appearance. Abe snorted lightly and turned his face away in dissatisfaction. Aaron patted him on the head, knowing that Abe was upset about being compared to the 2 unicorn cubs. You are a holy dragon. You will definitely outshine them when you spread your wings, but it's not time for you to be revealed yet. Hearing this, Abe nodded slowly, looked at the 2 unicorns with disdain, and decided not to concern himself with them. Time passed day by day, and soon it was mid-February. The progress on Harry's side was not smooth. He, Ron, and Hermione searched the library for a way to let him breathe underwater for an hour whenever they had time. But despite searching all the magic books related to water, they found nothing. Hermione even asked Professor McGonagall for a note for the restricted section, but even those ancient spells didn't involve breathing underwater. There must be a way. There must be. Hermione kept cheering herself up. The stack of magic books beside her was more than a meter high, but she kept flipping through them. We weren't this serious when we were looking for Nicholas Flamel. Ron yawned and rubbed his sleepy eyes. Hermione, although I don't want to say this, not all problems have answers in books. But the answer to the second task must be found in a book, Hermione said very seriously. They can't design a task that can't be completed. You also see that Krum has been practicing diving these days. There must be some magic that can help him. He's a Durmstrang student, Ron said, exasperated. Karkaroff is unconditionally partial to him. Maybe he taught Krum Durmstrang's advanced magic. The same goes for Fleur. Maxime must have taught her Boban's special magic. What about Cedric? Hermione countered. Dumbledore didn't teach him, did he? But his dad is the DU, rector of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, Ron pointed out. Department of Magical Creatures Regulation and Control of the Ministry of Magic, and he knows a lot of magic. Indeed, I have almost no advantage over them, Harry said bitterly. You can ask someone for help, Ron suggested meaningfully. Didn't Professor Moody give you an idea once? No, Harry shook his head. I asked Professor McGonagall, and she said that the Triwizard Tournament rules state that the champions must complete the tasks on their own. Whether Professor Moody would help me again, I don't know, but I know he can't cast a spell on me before the event. Actually, there is another way. Ron hesitated, pointing to Aaron, who was leaning against the corner, writing and drawing. This isn't appropriate, Hermione said, looking embarrassed. We still have time. We won't be at the end of our rope. How much time? 2 days, Ron said, exasperated. Cedric is the only one who can help Harry breathe underwater at this point. Don't mention Cedric to me, Harry said coldly. You understand the situation. We have no other choice. We can't just watch Harry fall into the lake and drown. Hermione still hesitated, and Ron continued. We don't need him to help Harry directly. We just need to ask him how to do it, and we'll handle the rest ourselves. Let me ask, Harry sighed, then cautiously approached Aaron. This. Harry hesitated, unsure how to begin. After all, he was asking for help yet again. Aaron raised an eyebrow at Harry Potter's awkwardness, then glanced at Hermione and Ron. Seeing the stack of books beside them, he seemed to understand why Harry had come to him. "Don't tell me you're not ready for the second event," Aaron said with a sigh. Chapter 382, Gilgrass, Dobby's Aid. "Not really ready," Harry said shyly. Aaron couldn't believe it. He had given Harry a clue on Christmas Day, and it had been almost 2 months since then. "Okay, I shouldn't have expected anything from you. Honestly, where did it go wrong? Is it because you're unsure about fighting the giant squid, dealing with Grindylows, or finding the mermaids?" Hearing this, Harry swallowed hard, his face turning slightly pale. He had only been thinking about how to breathe underwater and had ignored the terrifying creatures in the Black Lake. I want to know how to breathe underwater," Harry admitted. Aaron froze for a moment and looked at Harry with surprise. "You mean you haven't even handled the first step?" "I've tried my best. We've searched all the books about water in the library, but we still can't find anything," Harry explained anxiously. "Breathing underwater is simply impossible for us 4th graders." "Speak more carefully. I am also in the 4th grade," Aaron reminded him. "You are an exception," Harry added hastily. "Now you are the only one who can help me." Aaron rolled his eyes and swore that if it wasn't because Adrian didn't want any big accidents in the Triwizard Tournament, he would have turned around and left. The Bubblehead Charm. This spell can create a big bubble around the head, which can isolate dirty air and can also be used for underwater breathing. It barely lasts for an hour. "Cedric and Fleur were going to use this spell," Aaron said, then changed the topic. "But you don't have to think about this. There are not many senior wizards who have mastered the Bubblehead Charm." "Then is there another way?" Harry asked, hopeful. "Of course, but—" Aaron looked at Harry suspiciously. "There are less than 2 days left. Are you sure there is still time to learn magic?" "You won't suggest I prepare for scuba diving, will you?" Harry asked, half joking. "Not at all. There is a plant called gillyweed. If you eat it, you will grow fish gills, and your limbs will become flippers, allowing you to move freely underwater for more than an hour." Harry was overjoyed. Gillyweed sounded much more reliable than a spell. Not only could he breathe underwater, but his hands and feet would also become the most beneficial tools. He could save the magic power of using the Bubblehead Charm and directly beat other warriors at the starting line by a large margin. "Where can I find this herb?" Harry asked eagerly. "The Mediterranean," Aaron said half-jokingly. "What?" Harry's enthusiasm was dampened. "The game is the day after tomorrow, and the Mediterranean Sea is so far away. It's too late to go back and forth. Doesn't Hogwarts have this herb? If it's further away, it will be Hogsmeade, and I really can't do anything outside these 2 ranges." "So you are quite lucky," Aaron said with a meaningful smile. "Hogwarts happens to have gillyweed, and it is in a certain professor's private storage room." Harry froze for a moment, then clapped his hands. "Professor Sprout! I should have thought of that earlier. The botanical garden at Hogwarts is hers, and the gillyweed is definitely in her hands. She will definitely give this herb to Cedric so that he can gain a greater advantage in the Triwizard Tournament." "As expected of Harry Potter," Aaron said, giving a thumbs up. "Perhaps you are right. In addition to Professor Snape, Professor Sprout may also have this extremely precious herb." Rumble! Harry felt a thunderbolt in his heart, and a sense of despair hung over his head. If the gillyweed was in the hands of Professor Sprout, although it was difficult, it was not hopeless. He had revealed the content of the first task to Cedric, which made the Hufflepuff champion owe him a favor. Even if he wanted to return the favor, Cedric would have to do him this favor. As for whether being a villain would affect his character, he no longer cared. Ever since Cedric had taken his dance partner, although Cedric probably didn't know he was interested in Cho Chang, their relationship, IP, had been strained. The atmosphere had unilaterally dropped to a freezing point. But if the Gilgrass was in Snape's hands, it would not be so difficult. At least being a villain is definitely not enough. Only being ruthless can have a chance. Harry forced a smile. Is there any other way besides these 2? "Well, Victor Crumb has been practicing diving these days. I speculate that he should have mastered a kind of transfiguration, but it won't be animagus. You can ask him." "Hey, can you tell me one that is suitable for a 4th-year wizard like me?" That's a bit difficult. Aaron touched his chin and said, "At the moment, the gillgrass is the most suitable for you, but I'm sure I won't embarrass Professor Snape because of you." "Really?" said Harry in a dull voice. "Thanks for telling me anyway." "You're welcome." Aaron waved his hand. "You can try to find other people, Moody, Hagrid, and even all the Gryffindors. They are willing to help you." "Understood." Harry nodded listlessly, turned, and walked towards Ron and Hermione. Aaron didn't want to help when he saw that Harry looked so dejected. He was not Harry Potter's nanny, and it was already the best of humanity to remind him at this point. "How's it going?" Ron asked eagerly. Harry shook his head silently. "Let's find out if there is any other way in the book." "Didn't he tell you?" Hermione frowned slightly. "It shouldn't be." "No, he did, and even made it very clear." Harry said bitterly, "There is a spell called the Bubblehead Charm, but I can't learn it in 2 days. There's also a herb called gillgrass, which, when eaten, can grow gills and flippers, but the herb is in Snape's hands." Hermione and Ron looked at each other. They would rather believe that Harry could learn the Bubblehead Charm in 2 days than that Snape would give him the gillgrass. In the following days, the three of them spent their time in the library. They kept flipping through various magic books from early morning to afternoon, desperately trying to find a third way to breathe underwater. The pressure on Harry was even greater because the difficulty of the second task was dealing with underwater creatures in addition to underwater breathing. But he dared not tell the two of them, as the challenge of underwater breathing alone would drive them crazy. The next day, they repeated the operation of the first day, but received a note of despair in addition to disappointment. Professor McGonagall sent George and Fred to call Ron and Hermione to her office. The reason was unclear, but they tacitly believed that the Triwizard Tournament was a test of the warrior's ability, and others could not help. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Mrs. Pince closed the library and kicked them out. Harry's heart was getting heavier, and he was about to put on the invisibility cloak and go to the library when he returned to the common room. But before he could move, Dobby suddenly appeared by his bedside. "Dobby, what are you doing here?" "Forget it. It doesn't matter what you do here. Now I have to go to the library. Don't stop me." "No need to go," said Dobby. "Dobby knows what Harry Potter is looking for, and Dobby found it for him." "What?" "Gillgrass." Dobby pulled out a gray-green, slippery mass. "Harry Potter needs this." "You?" Harry's face became extremely serious after a brief chuckle. "I am very grateful to you, Dobby, but you stole Snape's herbal medicine." "He didn't know that Dobby stole it," Dobby said guiltily. "How did Harry Potter know where Dobby found the gillgrass?" "Aaron told me." Harry sighed weakly. "He just told me yesterday that the gillgrass was stolen today, and if I use the gillgrass in the second event, anyone with half a brain will know that I stole it." "Mr. Gaius wouldn't tell Professor Snape, would he?" "It's hard to say, but it doesn't matter whether he says it or not. Whenever I use gillgrass in a match, Snape can definitely tell." Harry smiled wryly. "Dobby, return the things. I won't do the second task. The worst thing is that I don't want that thing." "No." Dobby shook his head firmly. Harry shook his head resolutely. "That's not an ordinary thing. It's Harry's Wheezy, and Dobby can't let Harry lose his Wheezy." "Wheezy? What Wheezy?" Harry asked, confused. "The one who gave Dobby the sweater for Christmas," Dobby explained. Hearing this, Harry was stunned for a moment. After recovering, he quickly took off his invisibility cloak and walked to Ron's bed, but there was nothing under the quilt. "The mermaid took Ron, so Hermione," Harry began. "That's what Harry Potter thinks. They are the most beloved of the warriors," said Dobby. "If after an hour." "There is no hope. It is completely gone, and it will never appear." Harry remembered the song in the Golden Egg. A look of horror appeared on his face, and he decisively took the gillgrass in his hand. With Aaron on Hermione's side, he didn't have to worry at all, but if he couldn't save Ron, he would probably spend the rest of his life in regret. Compared to Ron's life, offending Snape was completely negligible. Their relationship couldn't get any worse anyway. "Dobby, you really helped me this time," Harry said gratefully. "It would be nice if I could help Mr." Dobby said shyly. "There are still some questions. How did you know that Ron would be captured by the mermaid? And how did you know about the herb called gillsack grass?" Harry asked. Dobby is a house elf, and once while cleaning, I overheard Professor Moody and Professor McGonagall discussing the hostages being taken. They mentioned gillsack grass, which happened to be in Professor Snape's private storage room, so Dobby suddenly paused and began bumping his head against the foot of the bed. Bad Dobby, bad Dobby. Harry pulled him away hastily. Dobby, stop. You don't have to feel guilty about stealing. All in all, thank you so much for doing this for me, but it's time for you to go back. Other house elves may be looking for you. Chapter 383, The Descent to the Lake and the First Use of the Water Avoidance Curse. It's a bet. It's a bet. Come on, everyone, it's better to act than to move. 4 boys and 1 girl. 5 into the water. How many can survive? Early in the morning, George and Fred had set up a betting game around the field. On the edge of the Black Lake, several large platforms were erected, and the auditorium was already packed with spectators. Except for Barty Crouch, who was absent due to illness and had given up his referee position to Percy, the other 5 referees sat neatly in front of a table. Cedric Diggory, Victor Crumb, Fleur Delacour, Harry Potter, and Aaron Gaius all stood at the referee table, waiting quietly for the game to start. I've been looking forward to this for several months. Don't let me down, Adrian said meaningfully. Aaron placed Abe in front of Adrian and said very seriously, I will fulfill your request. Wait and see. Ludo Bagman came among the warriors and ordered them to line up on the bank, at least 10 feet apart. Loud voice. Bagman pointed his wand at his throat and amplified his voice with a spell. Welcome to the second event. Last night, the warriors had their beloved things stolen, their treasures. These treasures are now lying at the bottom of Black Lake, and to win, each warrior just needs to find the treasure and return to the surface. But there is a time limit. They only have 1 hour. Beyond the time limit, they have to rely on themselves. No magic can save them. As soon as the cannon fires, the game begins. The time was 9:30 a.m. Cedric, Crumb, Fleur, and Harry all took off their coats and changed into smart swimsuits to make it easier for them to move underwater. The 4 of them looked at Aaron, who was at the very edge, because he was the only one who was out of place, wrapped up thickly. What are you looking at me for? Never seen a handsome guy? Aaron quipped. You don't need to change into your swimsuit? Fleur asked suspiciously. I have my own method, Aaron said lightly, then looked at Fleur. I have a good figure. Fleur blushed slightly and retorted with a sneer. You know how to appreciate it now? Hey, I'm just telling the truth, but I hope you don't make me worry this time. I'm not Roger Davis, and I won't stand by your side just because you have a good figure. Fleur snorted coldly and turned her face away arrogantly. Aaron, there's something I think it's better to tell you in advance, Harry said hesitantly. The so-called baby that Mr. Bagman mentioned is actually... I know, Aaron said lightly. Our dance partner. It's not just a dance partner, Harry said with a complicated expression. It's the most important person to us. For example, the person I need to save is Ron. Parvati will be sad, Aaron remarked. The corners of Harry's mouth twitched slightly, feeling a little sorry for the girl. He had invited her to be his dance partner, but after completing the warrior's opening dance task, he had put her aside. What did you say just now? Fleur asked worriedly. Could it be that what was stolen from us? If there are no accidents, it is what you think, Aaron said meaningfully. In short, behave well, Miss Delacour. Fleur nodded seriously, but seeing that her sister was not in the auditorium, she couldn't help feeling uneasy. Cedric and Crumb looked at each other, obviously guessing what the mermaids had kidnapped. Boom! The cannon sounded, and the game officially started. Cedric, Crumb, and Fleur jumped into the icy lake one after another. Harry hurriedly took out the gillyweed from his pocket, stuffed it into his mouth, and swallowed it after chewing several times while suppressing his nausea. Gollum! Is it tasty? Aaron asked. It's so unpalatable. It's as disgusting as eating a dead mouse, Harry said subconsciously. The next moment, he turned around in embarrassment and saw Aaron looking at him with a half-smile. Aaron, let me explain. No need to explain, Aaron patted him on the shoulder. Come and meet your Hallange. Professor Snape will be with us when we return. He should be happy to hear your explanation. For now, let's get into the water. The effect of the gillweed lasts only 1 hour. If we can't save Ron before then, the consequences will be dire. Hearing this, Harry's face grew extremely serious. He cautiously walked into the lake. From the shore, he heard a sneering sound and immediately recognized Malfoy's laughter. Despite his anger, Harry endured it. After all, his swimming skills were poor, barely enough to keep him from drowning. Before the gillweed took full effect, Harry knew he had to be cautious. The cold water made his legs tingle, and the smooth pebbles in the lake caused him to slip several times. The cold February wind whipped his upper body, making him shiver violently and giving him goosebumps. Soon, he felt extreme discomfort in his mouth and nose, as if every breath was like a knife cutting through him. He instinctively covered his throat and felt something strange, several long, narrow slits opening and closing like fish gills. Realizing the gillweed was working, Harry hesitated no longer and dived into the water. The lake water, no longer cold, felt comfortable, like a spring breeze on his face. He could breathe freely underwater with oxygen flowing into his body through the gills. Webbing developed between his fingers and toes, increasing his speed in the water, and swimming skills seemed to come naturally. Aaron was the only one left on the shore, and almost everyone's eyes were on him. The smile on Adrian's face grew more intense. "I haven't used this magic since I learned it," Aaron murmured, pretending to pull out his wand. Water-repelling spell. A transparent spherical barrier enveloped him, and he slowly sank into the water. "What kind of magic is this, Professor Dumbledore?" Bagman asked in surprise. "I don't know either. I haven't seen it before," Dumbledore replied bluntly, then looked at Adrian. "Miss Klein, can you clarify for us?" "Obviously," Adrian shrugged. "This is a magic that allows one to breathe freely underwater. It's an advanced version of the bubblehead charm." The referees exchanged glances. They could see the spell's effects, but wanted to know more about its name, usage, and effects. Their curiosity was soon satisfied. Adrian raised his wand, and a cyan light shot into the sky. 5 light curtains appeared above the lake, corresponding to the 5 warriors. It's a bit boring to just look at the lake and wait for the mermaid leader's results for an hour. Scoring like this isn't rigorous, don't you think, Professor Dumbledore? Adrian said. Dumbledore smiled. That's right. I'm more curious about what kind of magic my brother will use. If he thinks hiding underwater is safe, he underestimates me, Adrian said proudly. Cedric and Fleur's heads are wrapped in a bubble, which is the bubblehead charm, Bagman explained to the audience. This spell allows them to breathe underwater. Crumb seems to have used a form of shape-shifting magic, turning himself into half-shark. Although only his head has become a shark, it doesn't prevent him from moving freely underwater. His sharp teeth and free hands allow him to use his wand underwater. Harry Potter is using gillweed, Dumbledore whispered. Yes, gillweed. This is an extremely precious herb that can make people grow fish gills and flippers for a short period. It's an excellent choice for those who don't know how to use underwater breathing spells. Professor Snape's face turned livid. At Hogwarts, only his private storage room contained gillweed. He felt it was necessary to check his storage room, suspecting it might have been burglarized. Finally, Mr. Gaius, who really impressed us on the first project, which is... Oh my goodness. Aaron stood within a spherical barrier. Without any movement on his part, the barrier moved forward automatically, as if responding to his thoughts. The barrier completely isolated the lake water, preventing even the swimming fish from entering. Miss Klein, I think this magic is very powerful, Percy said, swallowing hard. If Gaius can share it, he will undoubtedly gain an unimaginable reputation. The Medal of Merlin, first class, is not out of the question. You, as the person in charge of recommendation and handling, will also get a corresponding promotion. Adrian chuckled, his playful eyes seeing through Percy's ambitions. But what I said is really worth considering. Percy blushed slightly. Many wizards who need to work underwater would find this magic incredibly useful. That's his business, not mine, Adrian waved dismissively. After the second project is completed, you can discuss it with him yourself. Percy nodded helplessly. His original intention was to ask Adrian to persuade Aaron. A word from Adrian would be more effective than 100 from him. But now, it seemed he would have to persuade Aaron himself. He believed he had some friendship with Aaron, and the success rate would not be low. If successful, Many in the Ministry of Magic and the wider magical world would praise him, and a promotion and salary increase would be certain. Chapter 384, Putting Eyeliner, Only One Can Be Saved. As Aaron continued to dive deeper into the Black Lake, the light gradually dimmed. He found himself in a gray and hazy underwater world, where even with his keen eyesight, he could only see about 10 meters ahead. The silence around him was almost deafening, broken only by the occasional sound of water. Fluorescent flashes, Aaron muttered, casting a spell that emitted a bright white light from the tip of his wand. However, he quickly lifted the spell and moved away from the area. He had heard countless subtle sounds of water movement, indicating the presence of many underwater creatures that could see the light. It was a beacon that could attract unwanted attention. Sure enough, moments later, a group of light green water monsters with horns, known as Grindylows, surrounded the spot where Aaron had been. They stretched their slender claws and bared their green teeth, communicating briefly before dispersing in all directions. Grindylow water monsters, Aaron murmured to himself, glancing at the dense aquatic plants around him. His mouth twitched, and his face turned blue with frustration. He silently thanked Lupin, who had taught about creatures like Grindylows during his substitute class. These creatures typically hid in aquatic plants and fed on small fish, but they wouldn't hesitate to attack muggles and wizards. The aquatic plants were so dense that it was clear this was a Grindylow settlement. Aaron pondered his options. Should I call them over or go around? He sighed helplessly, pulling out his wand and controlling the transparent barrier to move forward. Normally, he would have chosen to go around, but he was on a mission to find 2 hostages, and time was of the essence. As he moved through the barrier, a Grindylow emerged from the water plants, its green fangs bared as it lunged at Aaron. The creature collided with the barrier, shattering half of its teeth and roaring in pain. Fortunately, this barrier has some defensive properties, Aaron remarked with a hint of humor. But his smile quickly faded as dozens of Grindylows emerged from the aquatic plants. Aaron forced a smile and accelerated, trying to escape the dense vegetation. The water monsters pursued him relentlessly, and Aaron cast spells backward to fend them off. Despite his efforts, the barrier was occasionally struck. After 7 or 8 minutes, Aaron finally staggered out of the aquatic plants. The Grindylows, unwilling to leave their territory, continued to yell at him in frustration. How arrogant! Aaron raised his middle finger in disdain. If you have the guts, come out and see if I dare to kill you. A few Grindylows, unable to tolerate the insult, ventured out. Aaron swung his wand decisively, sending streams of water that knocked them back into the plants. Goodbye, no, never again, Aaron said triumphantly, waving his hand as he accelerated his dive towards the center of the lake. He carefully avoided the aquatic plants on his way down. By the time his feet touched the black mud at the bottom of the lake, 10 minutes of the game had passed. It's almost there, Aaron thought, reaching for Captain Jack's compass. But at that moment, a voice echoed in his mind. Don't worry, eldest sister sent a video of the performance of the 5 warriors in the Black Lake to the sky above the lake. Now everyone can see what you are doing. What the heck? She really doesn't give us a chance, Aaron cursed silently. But now I can only use this magic item. I didn't say you couldn't use it. I just reminded you that someone is watching. I know what to do, Aaron responded. You also have to be careful not to expose yourself. Understood, the voice replied, and the connection was severed. Aaron wore a tangled and heartbroken expression, his hands trembling unconsciously. He raised his wand and pointed it at his left hand. A small white magic circle flashed briefly, and a black compass appeared in his hand. I can still use it 2 more times, but I didn't expect to use it for finding people, Aaron said bitterly. His voice reached every audience member through the light curtain. Many began to whisper, discussing the nature of the compass in Aaron's hand. On the referee's bench, Bagman looked confused. He had never seen or heard of this compass and didn't know how to explain it. However, some had already guessed its function. A mysterious smile appeared on Adrian's lips. A glint of understanding shone in Dumbledore's eyes, and Mad-Eye Moody's magical eye turned wildly. Miss Klein, does this count as cheating? Karkaroff asked with an unkind expression. Of course not, Adrian replied confidently. Harry Potter used his wand to summon the firebolt in the first task, and what Gaius is doing now is essentially the same. But this kind of magic item is really... Professor Karkaroff, if you want to talk about fairness, Gaius probably has more to say than anyone else. Don't forget, the others only need to save one hostage, but he needs to save two. Karkaroff was momentarily speechless, unable to find a counter-argument. Ahem, Miss Klein, Percy said awkwardly but politely. This magic item of Gaius is really amazing, if possible. What? Hand it over to the Ministry of Magic, Adrian said playfully. Of course not, Percy hastily waved his hand. I mean to register it with the Ministry of Magic. Let's talk to him, Adrian said indifferently. Although I am his sister, I have never forced him to do anything he didn't want to do. Besides, Mr. Weasley, I just pretended not to hear what you just said. Even the Minister of Magic can't demand what he wants. Percy, the eyes of a raven in the Slytherin audience flashed with intelligence. It was Aaron's missing body clone entrusted to Draco's care. Adrian's arrangement for Aaron in the second task was a series of tricks. Just in case, he wanted to leave an informant on the shore to pass on important information at any time. Animagus was the best way. Even Dumbledore couldn't detect it. Sure enough, he guessed right. The light curtains vividly reflected the performance of the 5 warriors underwater. In case he thought no one could see it, he played a few trump cards. Just thinking about it made him shudder. At the bottom of the Black Lake, Aaron received the information from his missing body and breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone's reaction was as he expected, so there was no need to be overly cautious when using Captain Jack's compass. He looked at the compass in his hand and thought about his 2 dance partners, a 4th-year Gryffindor, Hermione Granger, and a 3rd-year Ravenclaw, Luna Lovegood. The pointer of the compass rotated rapidly, then stopped and pointed steadily ahead. Aaron was slightly taken aback. The situation seemed different from what he thought. The 2 of them appeared to be in the same place, rather than in 2 completely opposite directions. But this was good news for him. He then controlled the barrier to move straight ahead. Not long after, he heard a familiar singing voice. Only 1 hour to find and recover what we took. Following the guidance of the pointer and the singing, Aaron found a ruin covered with moss and algae. Although it was clearly the bottom of the lake, the light here was much brighter than in other places. Huge, dense stone pillars and arches stood tall, and there were many rough dwellings covered with algae below. This was obviously the residence of the mermaids, but their appearance was a little different from what Aaron had imagined. Their skin was iron gray, their hair unkempt, and their eyes the color of brass. Even their teeth were incomplete. This completely destroys all my beautiful fantasies about mermaids, Aaron thought, clicking his tongue in dismay. He shivered at the thought of his mother introducing him to mermaids on blind dates. However, he quickly reassured himself that the mermaids his mother had in mind were nothing like these grotesque creatures. They were real mermaids. As he pondered this, the mermaids surrounded him, pointing their spears at the transparent barrier that protected him. Aaron ignored them and followed the compass pointer to a massive mermaid sculpture. Tied to the sculpture's tail were 6 people: Harry's friend Ron, Cedric's dance partner Cho Chang, a Durmstrang girl in a red wizard robe who was undoubtedly Krumm's dance partner, a girl who looked about 8 or 9 years old, likely Fleur's unfortunate sister, and his own dance partners, Hermione Granger and Luna Lovegood. They all appeared to be petrified, with only small bubbles occasionally escaping from their mouths and noses. It seems I'm the first to arrive, Aaron noted, glancing at his watch. There are still more than 20 minutes left, which should be enough time. No, it will definitely be enough if I can save 2 people. You can only save 1, a mermaid said hoarsely. 1? Just 1? Aaron's eyes widened in astonishment. He turned to look at his 2 partners and immediately understood the sinister intentions behind this challenge. It was clear now that the test for him in the second task was not just a race against time, but a difficult choice. One was an innocent girl caught up in this mess, and the other was a good friend he had known for 4 years. Choosing one would mean leaving the other at the bottom of the lake. Perhaps the referees were just playing a cruel joke, but he couldn't risk it. Adrian, seated among the referees, watched Aaron with keen interest through the light curtain. The next thing I am most looking forward to is seeing how he will choose when he can only save one, he mused. Chapter 385, Of course I want them all, but who to save first? Miss Klein, Principal Maxim said in a deep voice, his expression strange. Isn't this too heavy a burden for a 15-year-old child? He is the heir of the Gaius family, Adrian replied meaningfully. He will face many more choices in the future than he does now. As for his age, his journey officially started when he was 12 years old. Now it's just a rest. Hearing this, a sharp light flashed in Dumbledore's eyes. Journey? What does that mean? I have no comment on this, Adrian said directly. Or rather, Dumbledore is not qualified to know with his current status and strength. Percy Weasley's eyes widened in astonishment. What did he just hear? Even the White Demon King is not qualified to know. This must be a significant secret in the magical world, but he was self-aware enough to know that such secrets were beyond his reach. Dumbledore frowned slightly. When he wanted to ask more, he saw a pair of calm eyes and wisely closed his mouth, refraining from further questions. Miss Klein, Karkaroff finally realized the referee's authority, his voice becoming a bit more flattering. How should we score in this situation? Just be fair. It's reasonable for a hostage to get half of the score, isn't it? Points will be deducted if you exceed the time limit. All I want to see is his choice. I don't care about the outcome of the Triwizard Tournament. Understood. Understood. I don't know what kind of choice Miss Klein wants to see, Dumbledore asked. Will Gaius save one or two? That question is meaningless, Professor Dumbledore. My younger brother doesn't want to cause any trouble, but he is more responsible than anyone else. Based on my understanding of him, he will definitely save both. Then you. What I want to know is who he will save first. Adrian said meaningfully. One is an innocent person implicated, and the other is my good friend. Professor Dumbledore, if it were you, who would you save first? Hearing this, Dumbledore couldn't help but gasp. Nema. It's because he has a small structure, and it's the first time he has encountered such a tricky problem after living for more than a century. It doesn't matter if both can be saved. Whoever is saved first is the key point. Whether it is the first reaction or the decision made after careful consideration, it can reflect a person's psychological profile. Adrian calmly waited for Aaron to make a decision, completely unaware that the other referees looked at her with a little more solemnity and fear. Is this really something a 16-year-old can think of? Comparing themselves to her age was just a show. Aaron is really blessed to have you as his sister, Dumbledore said, somewhat strained. Thank you for the compliment. Adrian accepted humbly. It is because of my sister's encouragement that their younger brothers and sisters can thrive. Crowd. It is enough to wrong them that they can grow so big. Too cruel, too damaging, too despicable. Aaron also received a message from the missing body, and knowing Adrian's purpose, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. He looked at the faces of the two hostages in front of him like wilted eggplants. He couldn't cough out a mouthful of depression and couldn't swallow it, almost getting internal injuries. As expected of my sister. You actually played this trick on me? Aaron smiled sadly. At this time, Harry swam over, pointing around him like a mermaid. He looked at Aaron, who was wrapped in a spherical barrier, impermeable to water and dressed warmly, and then looked at his own hands and legs, suddenly feeling a huge gap in his heart. He had thought the gillsack grass was the secret weapon for launching into the water, but he didn't expect that there were mountains as high as mountains. This magic was too slippery. But after getting closer, he was shocked to find Hermione and Luna in front of Aaron, both at a loss for a while. What's the situation? You want to save two people? Obviously, Aaron said angrily. And what are you waiting for? Help! Harry said eagerly, about to pull off Hermione's rope. Only one can be saved, a mermaid warned, pointing a spear at Harry. One? Harry suddenly thought of something and looked at Aaron in panic. That's exactly what it means, Aaron replied, spreading his hands. But this has nothing to do with you. Take Ron and leave before the effect of the gill grass wears off. But what about you? Harry asked, concerned. Get out, Aaron said impatiently, his eyes clearly conveying, are you going to stay and hold me back? Harry pursed his lips, realizing that his gills were starting to feel short of breath. He couldn't breathe underwater much longer, and staying wouldn't help. He glanced at the thick, slippery aquatic plants where the hostages were tied and felt he needed a knife. "Do you have a knife? Lend it to me," Harry asked. Aaron shook his head in exasperation. "You're a wizard. A wand is enough. What do you need a knife for?" Harry froze for a moment, then quickly pulled out his wand. A red light hit the rope binding Ron, causing it to fall off automatically. Ron's body floated up uncontrollably. Harry hurriedly swam over to hold his arm. "I'll get Ron ashore first, and then I'll help you." "Don't." Aaron stopped Harry in shock. "You don't have a second gillgrass, do you?" This," Harry stammered. "I beg you, don't bother me, okay?" Aaron pleaded. Harry's mouth twitched slightly. He nodded awkwardly and then led Ron upstream. Shortly after Harry left, Cedric swam up. "Is your spell too exaggerated?" Cedric asked enviously. The bubblehead charm he used could only create bubbles around his head, allowing him to breathe underwater, but it was nothing compared to Aaron's magic. "Want to learn? But you can't. This is a secret of the Gaius family," Aaron said, making up a story. He wasn't just explaining to Cedric, but also to the audience watching the game through the light curtain. Percy, who was representing Barty Crouch and sitting in the referee's seat, looked very displeased. It was clear that Aaron wouldn't share this magic, shattering Percy's dreams of promotion and a salary increase. "Then what about them?" Cedric asked, pointing to the remaining hostages. "It has nothing to do with you. It's probably because I found 2 dance partners at the Christmas ball," Aaron hinted, then smiled wryly. "Unless you want to help me, it's better to leave as soon as possible." Cedric immediately understood that the 2 hostages were likely arranged by Adrian for Aaron. He couldn't comprehend the love and rivalry between the 2 siblings, but he knew they couldn't get involved. He looked at his dance partner, Cho Chang, and cast a spell to break the rope binding her. "Take care," he said. Aaron sighed silently, then looked down at his watch. There was less than a quarter of an hour left, and he had to make a choice within this time. If he took longer than an hour, the mermaid's spears might be aimed at him. Aaron reached into his pocket, took out a gold galleon, and muttered to himself, "I don't believe in fate, but sometimes I have to let fate decide." He flipped the coin, deciding to save Luna if it landed heads up, and Hermione if it landed tails up. Ding! The galleon landed heads up. Without hesitation, Aaron cast a spell to untie Luna's rope and cast an armor spell on her. He grabbed Luna's arm to keep her from floating up. "It's not that you can't go up, it's that you dare not." Besides Grindylows, there are giant squids and various other dangerous creatures in the Black Lake. Letting Luna go back alone would be too risky. If something happened along the way, it would be too late to regret. Adrian, sitting in the referee's seat, couldn't help but smile at the scene. As expected of my brother, using such a simple and straightforward method, he thought. "Evasion can be regarded as a strategy," Dumbledore commented. Karkaroff and Maxim exchanged glances and nodded in agreement. A few minutes later, a shark swam up to the statue, causing the mermaid to scatter in fear. This was Victor Krum, who had transformed his upper body into that of a shark to breathe underwater. He bit the rope binding his partner with his teeth, but the shark's teeth made it difficult, and it took considerable effort to break the rope. "Wait," Aaron called out just as Krum was about to leave with his partner. "Do me a favor and bring Luna back too." Krum hesitated, a confused look flashing across his shark-like face as he considered whether to help. "I might have a hard time soon, and I can't take both of them away," Aaron explained, pointing to Hermione, who was still tied to the sculpture. "Help me take her back. It's just a small effort for you. In return, I'll help you in the 3rd task, if there's a chance." After a moment's hesitation, Krum grabbed his partner with one hand and Luna with the other, then swam towards the surface at high speed. "Why don't you leave?" a mermaid asked, puzzled. "The time is almost up. You should know what that means." Aaron remained silent. He couldn't tell them that he had to finish the competition last for a specific reason. He planned to wait until Fleur came to take her sister Gabrielle, then he would take Hermione and make a quick escape. If he moved fast enough, even the mermaids might not catch him. However, time was slipping away, and there were less than 5 minutes left before the 1-hour time limit. Aaron's anxiety grew. He glanced at Hermione and Gabrielle, muttering to himself, "What are you doing? Don't fail me at this critical moment." With less than 4 minutes remaining, he paced anxiously at the bottom of the lake. As the final 3 minutes approached, he began to suspect that Fleur was in trouble. Otherwise, she would have already taken her sister. Gritting his teeth, Aaron took out Captain Jack's compass, pretending to be heartbroken. "I didn't expect I would waste my last chance on a competitor," he murmured. Chapter 386, The Disappearing Compass. The task is completed. Aaron thought of Fleur Delacour, and the needle of the compass turned quickly, pointing to an exact direction. "It's really a race against time this time," Aaron muttered, shaking his head bitterly. He cast a water-repelling spell on the tail of the mermaid sculpture to separate the lake, and then added a protective charm to Hermione and Gabriel. With these layers of protection in place, he accelerated in the direction indicated by the compass. In less than half a minute, Aaron arrived at a dense cluster of aquatic plants. Pale red light flickered within the emerald-green foliage, and eerie, sharp screams echoed from all directions, making him feel uneasy. "Just my luck, running into a Grindylow lair," Aaron cursed inwardly, but his hands moved swiftly. With a wave of his wand, the water plants parted, revealing Fleur, who was struggling against the Grindylows. She was surrounded by the creatures, and each time she swung her wand, more than a dozen water monsters would freeze in place, only for another wave to rush in, leaving her in a panic. Given her status as a Triwizard Tournament champion, Fleur should have been able to handle the Grindylows. However, the uncertainty of her sister's fate and the ticking clock added immense pressure. Underwater, the Grindylows had the advantage. The bubblehead charm allowed her to breathe, but didn't protect her from the lake's effects like the water-repelling spell. Vila blood couldn't sustain her underwater, and her limbs grew heavier with each passing moment, making it harder to wield her wand. Aaron pointed his wand straight ahead, took a deep breath, and commanded, "Incarcerus!" A rope shot out from the tip of his wand, stretched for dozens of meters, and wrapped around Fleur's waist several times. Fleur, thinking the Grindylows had entangled her, was about to cast a spell when she was suddenly pulled to one side uncontrollably. A buzzing sound filled her ears, but it quickly faded. When she opened her eyes again, she was out of the water plants and saw her rescuer. Seeing the transparent barrier around Aaron that cut off all the lake water, Fleur felt a pang of discomfort. This magic was far superior to her bubblehead charm, making it seem as though Aaron was on dry land. Just as Fleur was about to express her gratitude, Aaron pulled her into the range of the water-repelling spell and quickly moved towards the mermaid's residence. "If you have anything to say, save it for later. We don't have time now," Aaron said urgently. Fleur's expression changed drastically as she remembered her sister. "Gabrielle." "She's fine for now," Aaron interrupted. "I cast a water-repelling charm and a shield charm on her. Even if the mermaids try to attack, it won't be easy. You just need to get back within 2 minutes." Fleur breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good. Wait, who else?" "My dance partner," Aaron replied. "Which partner?" Fleur asked, confused. "Hermione Granger," Aaron said with a serious expression. "I asked Crumb to help bring Luna Lovegood up." "Oh," Fleur seemed to understand. "Thank you," Aaron chuckled. "If you want to thank me, prepare a fruit basket for Adrian when we get back." If she hadn't set such an embarrassing task for me as one of the referees, I wouldn't have taken such a big risk to save you. In the final minute, Fleur untied the rope around Gabrielle, and Aaron did the same for Hermione, pulling her tightly under the water-repelling charm. "This is the second one," the mermaid said, dissatisfied. The mermaids picked up their spears one after another and pointed them at Aaron. Some even brought a group of tamed Grindylows to block his path, shouting fiercely, "Put her down, and you can leave." Seeing this, Fleur was momentarily at a loss. "You. Go quickly. Don't look back. Don't forget, your sister is still here," Aaron urged. Fleur struggled internally, but eventually nodded to Aaron and took Gabrielle upstream. "All right, now it's just me left. That's it for the first task, and it will be the same for the second." Aaron sighed, pretending to look at a compass. The black compass petrified rapidly, turning into gravel and sinking to the bottom of the lake. This was a simple illusion. Normally, it wouldn't fool a great wizard like Dumbledore, but since Dumbledore could only observe the game through the light curtain, it was impossible for him to see through the illusion. Indeed, the regret and pity in Dumbledore's eyes were evident, and Aaron felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Let her go," the mermaid continued to warn. "I'm sorry, but if I can't bring her back intact, I won't be able to sleep well. So, can you move out of the way?" Aaron said, pulling out his wand. "This is also for your own good. If you choose to stop me, be prepared to face the consequences." "Attack!" the mermaid leader roared angrily, and a swarm of Grendulos charged at Aaron. "Stupefy!" Aaron waved his wand, and a bright red light covered a large area of water, freezing the charging Grindylows in place. "The stunning spell won't last long," the mermaid leader's voice was hoarse. "He must have used a lot of magic to isolate the lake, so it won't last long. Go on, bring her back." "You don't understand." Aaron's eyes flashed with anger. "Shadowless God!" The mermaid leader let out a miserable howl as his arm was covered with bruises, as if cut by countless sharp knives, and his blood mingled with the lake water. "How dare you? A Hogwarts student." "Strictly speaking, I am a student of Hogwarts Slytherin House," Aaron said solemnly. "Students of Slytherin are shrewd and powerful, wise enough to protect themselves, but they can use any means necessary when required. Maintaining the water-breathing charm consumes a lot of mana, but I have enough power left to fight you all. Do you want to try it?" "You can only take one. Leave her, and we will return her to you after the second task is over," the mermaid leader said forcefully. "This is an agreement between us and Dumbledore." "That has nothing to do with me. It's an agreement between you and him," Aaron said lightly. "Frankly, I don't trust you. I just warned you. Don't think I won't kill you. So, move out of the way." A mermaid was about to stab him with a spear, but the mermaid leader hurriedly held him back. "You can leave," the mermaid leader said helplessly, and all the mermaids and Grindylows dispersed. "It's just a competition event. There's no need to escalate the situation." "Thank you." Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. "The wound on your body can only be healed with a counter curse. You can go to Professor Dumbledore. He may help you." With that, he took Hermione and swam towards the surface at high speed. A few minutes later, a transparent barrier emerged from the black lake, and the last light curtain above it disappeared. The stands were filled with people cheering and applauding, and the referees smiled at Aaron. Just after leaving the water, Hermione opened her eyes groggily. She looked at the spherical barrier that cut off the lake water, and little stars appeared in her eyes. "It's amazing! Is this the magic that allows you to breathe underwater?" Aaron nodded and led Hermione to the shore. Several warriors, including the hostages they had rescued, were gathered there. They were all wrapped in thick blankets, and their eyes held a mixture of emotions as they looked at Aaron. But there was a common thread of shock. They had witnessed Aaron's performance through the light curtain and had to admit that this 15-year-old wizard was indeed extraordinary. Luna handed a blanket to Hermione. "Here, dry yourself off." Aaron didn't touch a drop of lake water the whole time, but we were soaked for quite a while. "And take this," Luna added, producing a bottle of red potion. "It's from Madame Pomfrey. It will warm you up quickly." "Thank you," Hermione said, feeling a bit embarrassed as she opened the bottle and drank the potion. A warm sensation spread through her body, and she immediately felt much better. "I think I owe you an apology," Hermione began. "If I had shown up in time for the Yule Ball, you wouldn't have been so embarrassed." "It's all in the past," Aaron said, sitting down heavily on the ground. "Adrian told me that Luna was also mentally prepared." "Are you okay?" Hermione asked, noticing his pale face. "My magic is just exhausted. I need to rest for a bit," Aaron explained. "Was it the spell?" Hermione inquired. "The water avoidance charm isn't the same as the bubblehead charm. Maintaining it consumes a lot of mana every second," Aaron explained with a bitter smile. "Even though the consumption decreases as one's strength improves, it's still a significant burden for me. I stayed underwater for over an hour and had several encounters with Grindylows. Honestly, if those mermaids had really attacked, it wouldn't have been easy for us to get out." "I should thank you in person," Fleur said, pulling her sister closer. "I didn't want to help you at the bottom of the lake, but..." You don't need to explain. I understand, Aaron interrupted, waving his hand. To be honest, I'm relieved you didn't stay. At that moment, I didn't have the strength to save you again. Fleur's mouth twitched slightly. Was she being underestimated? She was a Triwizard Tournament champion and considered a genius among her peers, but she couldn't find a way to refute Aaron's words. May I ask, I heard you found me using a precious compass? Fleur asked hesitantly. That's a magical artifact passed down in my family, Aaron replied nonchalantly. You don't need to worry about it. That old antique has fulfilled its purpose. Fleur's expression was complicated. She didn't know about the elaborate lie Aaron had told the audience and felt that she owed him a significant favor. Chapter 387, Scoring and the Mark of the Death Eaters. Dumbledore squatted by the lake, apologetically treating the injury on the arm of the mermaid leader. After ensuring the mermaid was all right, he returned to the referee's seat to discuss the scoring with the other judges. A few minutes later, Bagman's voice echoed across the grounds. He held his wand against his neck, amplifying his voice with a spell to ensure everyone could hear him clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to announce the points each warrior earned in the second task. Ms. Delacour showed excellent use of the bubblehead charm and successfully rescued the hostages in the last minute of the time limit. We award her 41 points. It's a bit high for me, Fleur said, shaking her head mockingly. If it wasn't for someone's help, I wouldn't have even passed the Grindylows. Aaron rubbed his nose in embarrassment. Didn't I remind you that there are dangerous creatures in the Black Lake? Don't you know that Grindylows usually hide in aquatic plants? Unlucky, Fleur said gloomily. I encountered a giant squid on the way down and accidentally broke into that patch of aquatic plants while evading. Tsk, that's unfortunate. Victor Crumb used transfiguration, although it was not complete. He returned with the hostages within the stipulated time. He came out third, and we decided to give him 45 points. Harry Potter took Gillyweed with amazing results. He was the first to complete the task within the specified time, rescued the hostages, and after the referee's discussion, 47 points. Hermione and Ron laughed happily, but Harry lowered his head in guilt. He knew how he got his score. The origin of the Gillyweed was somewhat disgraceful. Snape's cold gaze from the audience made him feel even more uncomfortable. Cedric Diggory also used the bubblehead charm and completed the task within the stipulated time limit. We also gave him 47 points. The Hufflepuffs cheered loudly, clapping their hands excitedly. In their opinion, Cedric should be number 1. Harry Potter just ate a precious herb and didn't show his abilities at all. Lastly, Aaron Gaius. Bagman's voice rose a little higher. We all saw his performance. He used high-level magic and did not touch a drop of water in the cold Black Lake. He wanted to save 2 hostages and made a wise choice. In the end, he chose to help the 4th warrior and rescued her from the Grindylows. Although he exceeded the allotted 1-hour time limit, his performance was impeccable. The referees decided to award him 49 points. The Slytherin students shouted excitedly. Fleur and Hermione clapped vigorously, and Luna also cheered for him. Finally, the third event of the Triwizard Tournament will take place on the evening of June 24th. The Warriors will know the content of the game 1 month in advance. Thank you for your support. Bagman's voice stopped, and the audience began to leave their seats. Cedric, Fleur, and Crumb decided to go back and rest. Aaron took Abe back from Adrian and looked at her with resentment. Are you satisfied now? He asked. Very satisfied. Adrian clapped her hands. You made a choice, but the way you chose surprised me. You are really my sister, Aaron said with a wry smile. Cousin. Okay, cousin, how do you plan to torment me in your next project? You will know when the time comes. The last level is more exciting than the first 2 combined. If it really doesn't work, the agreement between us will be void, but you'd better be prepared because that means Kellia will be visiting your house after your holiday. Aaron was taken aback. This is so unexpected. What I dislike the most is quitting halfway. Wait and see. Behave well. Adrian patted him on the shoulder, turned, and left with a smile. Aaron gritted his teeth and took several deep breaths before suppressing the urge to curse. That, Harry called cautiously from behind him with a death-defying expression on his face. Let's go and see Professor Snape. Huh. Aaron looked surprised. I have to admit, you have more backbone than I thought. I expected you to drag this out forever. Harry smiled awkwardly. He had indeed considered delaying the confrontation. Aaron didn't like trouble and would often let things slide if given enough time. But now, with Professor Snape's face darkening ominously, it was clear he knew his gillgrass had been stolen. Harry decided it was better to admit his mistake with Aaron's help, hoping the punishment wouldn't be too severe. If Snape came to them first, the consequences would be much worse. After all, potions class was unavoidable, and Snape could make their lives miserable. The two entered Hogwarts Castle, navigating the long corridors and turning dozens of times before stopping in front of Professor Snape's private storage room. Just as Aaron was about to knock, they heard Karkaroff's voice from inside. The Durmstrang principal sounded extremely anxious, his tone filled with fear. "It's a sign, Severus, and both you and I know what it means. You must have noticed. It's never been so obvious since." "Hide quickly," Snape said viciously. "If you don't want to face it, you can try to escape, and I will do my best to help you. I'm not in a good mood today. Let's talk about it later, Karkaroff." The door opened suddenly, and Aaron knocked on it. Harry stood stiffly behind him, sweating nervously. Seeing someone outside, Karkaroff hurriedly pulled down his sleeves, but Aaron clearly saw the pattern on his left arm. He couldn't help but click his tongue in his mind. The Dark Mark, the mark of the Death Eaters. The Dark Lord had been gone for more than 10 years, yet Karkaroff still bore the mark. Such loyalty truly stood the test of time. "Aaron, what do you want me to do?" Snape asked. "It's a little bit, but it seems we came at the wrong time," Aaron replied. Karkaroff's mouth twitched. He forced out a smile that was uglier than crying and quickly left Snape's private storage room. "Now we can talk," Aaron said, shrugging and letting Harry step forward. "He's looking for something for you, Professor." "Potter," Snape gritted his teeth and sneered. "Congratulations, you performed outstandingly in the Black Lake. Gill grass, is it?" "Yes, sir," Harry replied. Snape nodded. "It's a genius idea, just a little bolder." He turned and walked into the storage room, and climbing up a ladder. "That's a rare herb, gillsack grass. You can't find it in ordinary gardens, and you can't find this either." Snape came down from the ladder with a small crystal bottle in his hand. "Know this?" Harry shook his head. "It's not pumpkin juice, anyway. It's veritaserum. Just 3 drops will make you reveal your innermost secrets." "Professor," Aaron interjected, "the Ministry of Magic won't let this be used on students." "Don't I know?" Snape said angrily. "I just wanted to tell Mr. Potter not to steal from my private pantry in the future, or I might accidentally drip it into someone's pumpkin juice." "Sorry, sir," Harry said humbly. "I stole the gillgrass, and I apologize." "Humph, quite frank, but the frankness is a bit incomplete." Harry's heart skipped a beat, fearing Snape had discovered that Dobby had stolen the gillgrass. Just as he was feeling uneasy, Snape's next words reached his ears. "The gillgrass is harmless, but the wood snake skin and lacewings are gone too. Are you and your friends making polyjuice potion?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Harry frowned. He admitted to the gillgrass, but polyjuice potion had nothing to do with him. "Wait, I'll find out why." Harry used to feel guilty when facing Snape, but now he felt a deep anger. It seemed Snape just wanted to blame him for everything. Those materials might have been properly placed on the counter and not stolen at all. Harry gave Snape a cold look, turned, and left without saying a word. "He's quite tempered," Snape said disdainfully. "It seems that successfully passing the 2 events of the Triwizard Tournament has made our savior quite inflated." Professor Snape, is there a possibility that he stole the gillyweed?" Aaron asked. "Who else but him? Gillyweed, tree snake skin, and lacewings were stolen on the same day," Snape replied. Aaron blinked and stopped defending Harry. He didn't believe Harry and his friends had stolen the ingredients for making the polyjuice potion. It seemed unnecessary, and the theft might just be a coincidence. After all, Hogwarts never lacked students who enjoyed pranks. However, he knew it was pointless to argue, as Professor Snape's prejudice against Harry Potter was well known. "Professor, may I ask, what was the relationship between you and Professor Karkaroff before?" Aaron inquired. Snape's expression darkened immediately, and he responded coldly, "That has nothing to do with you. Don't inquire about it." "I saw it," Aaron continued, showing interest. He has the dark mark on his arm. Is he a Death Eater? Shut up, Snape snapped. I won't say anything. You don't need to worry so much, Aaron said solemnly. My respect for you will not change because of who you used to be. Snape took a deep breath and looked at him seriously. I really want to cast an obliviate curse on you. With all due respect, Aaron smiled, maybe you don't have that ability. Fine, I used to belong to the same camp as Karkaroff. Are you satisfied? Snape said helplessly. He then pulled up his sleeve, revealing the same dark mark. As Karkaroff said, this mark has never been so prominent. It's a symptom. Coupled with the dark mark at the Quidditch World Cup, I fear the day when the Dark Lord will make a comeback is not far away. Forget what you hear and see. It's not something you should get involved in. Understand? Aaron nodded, though his mind was racing with the implications of Snape's revelation. Chapter 388, the shortest time required for development, spell series coming out of Professor Snape's private storage room. Aaron was still a little dazed. He had been mentally prepared for Voldemort's imminent return, but as that day drew closer, he realized his preparations seemed insufficient. Back in the dormitory, Aaron sat quietly on the bed after transferring the memory to his thought body. System, open the personal panel, he commanded. Okay. Magic Energy, Body 5934, Elementary Magister. Thought Body 934, Elementary Magister. Total 1118068, Elementary Great Magister, a rare existence in the magic world. Talent, rare in a lifetime. Magic Energy increases by 4 points every day. Body increases by 2 points. Thought Body increases by 2 points. Items, Moondrop, 2/3 can remove any negative spells. Resurrection Potion, can revive any creature that died within an hour. It's still just an elementary Great Magister. Aaron sighed helplessly. It was not easy to significantly improve the strength of a Great Magister. According to the normal growth rate, it would take at least 10 years for him to have the ability to directly counter Voldemort at his peak. Even if he added all the magic points he earned daily to his mana, it would still take at least 4 years. With the rewards from system tasks, this period might be reduced to 2 years. However, current signs indicated that Voldemort would return to his peak much sooner. Aaron had been on Voldemort's radar for a long time, and it was almost impossible for him to develop unnoticed for 2 years. Crunch! The secret passage suddenly opened, and the thought body emerged. Seeing Aaron's troubled expression, it couldn't help but smirk. I wanted to boast about how I deceived everyone today, but judging by your current state, I guess you can't listen to anything. Let's go in. Voldemort is about to be resurrected, and together, we are just elementary magisters. I really don't feel safe facing a peak magister, Aaron lamented. When did the ontology become so pessimistic? The thought body teased. You only considered our disadvantages in strength, but forgot our advantages. You mean, Aaron seemed to have thought of something, and most of the sadness on his face disappeared in an instant. Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore, the thought body said, counting on its fingers. As long as one of them is alive, Voldemort will not pay too much attention to us. In his eyes, we are just talented Slytherins worth cultivating. He wants to subdue Aaron Gaius, not just kill him. These are our advantages. As long as we don't cause trouble within 3 years, there shouldn't be too much danger. Aaron nodded in agreement. The actual situation was not as dire as he had thought. If he revealed all his cards now, he could barely escape from the Dark Lord at his peak. But 3 years later, he would be confident enough to face Voldemort head-on without defeat. Even if Voldemort was determined to kill him, he could hide in Gaius Castle. Not even Voldemort, nor a resurrected Salazar Slytherin, could break into his home. And if something truly catastrophic happened, he still had a bottle of resurrection potion, which was his second life. Thinking of this, his mood improved significantly. Since the situation was not as serious as he had feared, there was no need to spend all his magic points on mana. The simultaneous improvement of both software and hardware was the way to go. System, open the mall interface. With 1,000 magic points, I can try to buy something. Magic category, 100 magic points. Flight speed depends on personal strength. At Yamu, 10 magic points. See through disguise. See through the soul. As Singtusen, 300 magic points. Seraphine Shield, 500 magic points. All-round 3-dimensional defense. At Weisenbu, 300 magic points. Material category. At Shenhai Daoyu the Chu Shu, 5 magic points. At Haizao, 1 magic point. At Huoyansu Suijing, 200 magic points. At Baiyan Juju the Dui magic points. Zhongyi points. Item category, Lazo Mask, Tunten 500 magic points. The Wii, Ara can summon the Shadow Core Blade Group. Note, collect all 10 masks to control the Shadow Kingdom. At Trugen Agent, 70 magic points. At Firebolt, 50 magic points. At Tiger Charm, 1000 magic points. Balance of Yin and Yang. At Big Bowl of Rice Noodles, 5 magic points. One person can't finish it. Ayan, or the Tiger Charm. Aaron smacked his lips, debating for a long time before choosing the Tiger Charm. Yayan is indeed a magical skill with a higher cost performance than the Tiger Charm, but it is of no use to him at this stage. The Tiger Charm, with its promise of balancing yin and yang, sounds impressive, but is also currently useless to him. Perhaps in the future, when he becomes stronger, this spell can help balance the energy in his body. However, buying the Tiger Talisman would unlock a series of talismans, each representing different abilities. If he could get the Dog Charm, he would have the ability to repeatedly escape death. Looking at the vacant product column, Aaron decisively began to refresh the options, investing a few magic points. A spell with a yellow dog pattern appeared in his sight. 3,000 magic points? Isn't that too expensive? Aaron said with some dissatisfaction. Live forever and stay young. The holder is also immune to death and all fatal attacks. The system's voice was flat, as if it had settled on its host. If you list the abilities of the 12 spells, 90% of people will choose the dog spell. Of course, if it's too expensive, the host doesn't have to buy it. How come? Aaron smiled. 3,000 is 3,000. It is indeed worth the price. The reward for the 2 system missions this school year is exactly 3,000 magic points. It seems like a waste of time, but when you think about the ability to live forever, 3,000 magic points are worth it. System, can I absorb the ability of the Tiger Talisman? Of course, the method is the same as Nijia's mask. The ability of the Tiger Talisman will be completely bound to the host, and no one can take it away. After getting an affirmative answer, Aaron didn't hesitate. He looked at the 2 entangled tigers on the charm and silently said, "Absorb." The Tiger Talisman instantly split into 2, and the pattern on the talisman turned into 2 identical white tigers, roaring and pouncing on Aaron. A burst of intense white light flashed, and the tiger pattern in his pupils disappeared. Feeling not bad. This is the first one, and there are 11 more, the thought body reminded. This is a lot of magic points. It doesn't matter. After completing these 2 system tasks, we can buy the dog charm. At that time, we will have infinite time, and it will be a matter of time to collect all 12 charms. That's right. What are you going to do with the Tiger Talisman? Is it still on a shelf? Of course. Aaron smiled playfully, then looked at the Tiger Talisman, which had no divine power. A white tiger appeared in his pupils, injecting a little power into it. It has both good and evil sides and is a pretty good prop for shady people. But it can only be used once, and the 2 separated personalities will be reunited after 3 days. Probably never. I know, Aaron said indifferently. A trace of tiger power is nothing to me, but what if the Shenming Temple discovers this item and it ends up in the hands of Voldemort or Dumbledore? The most suitable for exciting and chaotic scenes is to fish in troubled waters, and there may be unexpected gains at that time. Then, do you want to prepare an instruction manual? The missing body suggested. It would be a pity if it was triggered by someone unknown. Aaron suddenly burst out laughing and silently praised himself in his heart. Instructions for use must be required, and a high-end and elegant box must be prepared so that people can see the difference of this treasure at a glance. It's better to keep a low profile. Those who can break into the Shenming Temple will know its value. The palace members are definitely not fools, and they might be able to see that this is a trap. All right then, prepare a low-key, luxurious, and tasteful box to put it in. Place it together with the Nijia mask. It will definitely highlight its value. Aaron got up early the next morning. The second project had been successfully completed, and 2/3 of the system's tasks and his eldest sister's tasks were now done. With 4 months remaining until the final competition event, he thought it wouldn't hurt to take a break before then. However, what bothered him was the way the students looked at him differently. It wasn't just the Slytherins. Students from the other 3 houses were also giving him strange looks. Krum had experienced the feeling of being a star, but Aaron found it really uncomfortable. This uncomfortable feeling persisted for 2 weeks until the focus of everyone's attention gradually shifted away from him and turned to the Daily Prophet. In Potions class, Aaron couldn't help but feel grateful when he saw that Slytherin had a copy of Wizard Weekly. This kind of influence was significant. "Can I have a look?" Aaron asked Draco. I personally think it's better if you don't know," Draco replied hesitantly. Aaron frowned slightly, his heart skipping a beat. Had Rita Skeeter written about him in the paper? It shouldn't be possible. His charm magic was not something a mere reporter could break. "What did the paper say about me?" Aaron asked. "It didn't write about you, but—" "Then I'm not worried about it," Aaron said, cutting Draco off and taking the newspaper from his hand. "The Secret History of Harry Potter." Hiss. Aaron couldn't help but take a sharp breath after reading just the title. His curiosity was instantly piqued. The high sales of the Daily Prophet were not without reason. The headline alone was worth the price of the newspaper. Chapter 389, Harry Potter's Secret Sad History. Professor Snape was writing the ingredients for the potion on the blackboard when he heard whispers from the students. He immediately threw half of the chalk towards the source of the noise. "Ow!" Ron cried out in pain. He looked up and met Snape's cold gaze, swallowing nervously. "Gryffindor loses 10 points for whispering in class," Snape announced. "Ha ha!" Draco couldn't help but sneer. "Professor, I suggest you ask what they were talking about. I promise you won't be disappointed." "Really?" Snape raised an eyebrow and looked playfully at Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who had their heads bowed in silence. "What were you doing?" "Nothing," Ron stammered, pressing his arms tightly against the table. This action caught Snape's attention. He stepped forward and pulled a newspaper from under Ron's arm. "Gryffindor loses another 10 points for reading magazines in class," Snape said lightly. His eyes were quickly drawn to the headline on the weekly magazine, and they gleamed with excitement. "Harry Potter's Secret History of Sadness," Snape read aloud, his tone full of ridicule. "Potter, what's this? He may be a different boy, but he also suffers from the pains of adolescence. He found emotional solace in Hermione Granger, a muggle born at Hogwarts. But how could he have imagined that in the midst of his traumatic experience, he would soon suffer another emotional trauma?" "What? This is too exaggerated." Aaron's eyes widened in astonishment. He turned to look at the embarrassingly flushed trio, speechless for a moment. "Gaius," Snape said, a little displeased that his interest was interrupted. He turned around and placed the newspaper on Aaron's desk. "You can read it yourself if you're interested, but don't interrupt the teacher in class next time." "Understood," Aaron nodded blankly, then turned his attention to the article about Potter's secret sad history. As he read, the corners of his mouth and face twitched unconsciously. Rita Skeeter had written that the pure friendship between Harry and Hermione was actually an ordinary-looking but ambitious girl playing with the emotions of 2 people. She even mentioned a love potion, making the story even more exaggerated. Aaron's eyelids twitched as he read, and he couldn't help but feel relieved that he had hypnotized Rita Skeeter. Otherwise, there would have been an extra male protagonist in this bloody story. According to the newspaper, Hermione was playing with the emotions of both Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. Although it was fabricated, to those who didn't know the truth, the relationship between the 3 of them really did look like a love triangle. Aaron glanced at the trio. Harry had his head down, his ears red as if they were on fire. Ron was silent, his eyes dull, and the words "life without love" seemed almost imprinted on his face. Hermione was relatively calm, but her anger was evident in her red eyes. It wasn't until the bell rang for the end of class that Harry, Ron, and Hermione recovered from their embarrassment and indignation. Without stopping for a moment, they picked up their books and ran out of the classroom. The Slytherins sneered. "Ahem!" Aaron coughed. and the classroom suddenly fell silent. Maybe everyone forgot that Hermione Granger was my dance partner at the Christmas ball. I don't care about other houses, but I still ask Slytherin to do me a favor. After his words fell, all the Slytherins looked at each other but nodded in unison. Slytherin respected the strong, and Aaron's performance in the Triwizard Tournament had given Slytherin enough pride. His current prestige was second only to the head of the house, Severus Snape. Gaius's face must be given, and although they lost a little bit of fun, it didn't matter to them at all. The students left the classroom. One after another, Snape stopped Aaron, looked at him meaningfully, and said, "You are very kind to her, Hermione Granger." "Professor, you seem to have misunderstood something. I just don't want a girl to lose her reputation because of some nonsense." Snape chuckled. "You can do it yourself." Baffling. "I said don't mess with Rita Skeeter. Now it seems you didn't listen to me," Ron said gloomily. "First Harry, then Hagrid, and now it's you. Oh yes, I did not fall. It's clearly a pure friendship relationship, but why did she write it as a bloody love triangle? Do I look like the kind of person who is played around by beauty?" "Like," Hermione said expressionlessly. "It seems that you are the one who can't even speak well after the invitation to Delacour was rejected." Ron blushed angrily. "I'm really embarrassed, but Fleur is completely different from you." "You." Hermione's eyes widened. Ron's words were quite blunt. He implied she was not as beautiful as Fleur. "Okay, stop talking. Everyone knows that bastard is talking nonsense. As long as you don't bother with it, it will be fine after a while." "That's not okay." Hermione shook her head. "What if she keeps grabbing us? Harry has already reported it twice." "He can only be regarded as half of the protagonist this time," Ron said with a strange expression. "Harry Potter's secret sad history, you are the most important one." "That's not important. What's important is, how did she know about the news in the newspaper?" "It's all made up." "The three of us can make things up, but what about Hagrid?" Hermione said seriously. "Dumbledore won't let Rita Skeeter anger Hogwarts, but she can always find some unknown secrets. This must not be a coincidence." "I don't care if it's a coincidence. We have to prepare for tomorrow," Harry said. "At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, meet him outside Hogsmeade. And bring more food," Ron added. "And Dobby, we've got to get him some presents too. Thanks to him for the second project. Otherwise, I would never have passed that level." Speaking of house elves, Hermione's spirits lifted. Giving house elves gifts was a big step for her House Elf Rights Association. The next day, in the auditorium, at the end of lunchtime, Harry, Ron, and Hermione arrived in a hurry. They ordered 2 or 3 times more food than usual and then quietly stuffed the food into Harry's school bag when no one was looking. They thought they were being very secretive, and no one should notice. Just because no one paid attention didn't mean no foodies paid attention. When Abe was eating, he glanced at the 3 of them from time to time, and his saliva dripped uncontrollably on the plate. "What's wrong with you today?" Aaron asked worriedly. This guy had never been so absent-minded during mealtime. "A lot of chicken legs," Abe said, wiping the smirk from his mouth. "What the hell?" Aaron looked at the plate in front of Abe, which was cleaner than his face, and he was a little confused. "So where did the chicken legs come from?" "There," Abe pouted in the direction of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Aaron turned his head to look, and the corner of his mouth twitched involuntarily. A large plate of chicken legs was neatly stacked, at least a dozen or so. Even if the appetite is good, it won't increase several times in one go. "There is a problem. There is absolutely a problem." Aaron thought very firmly and then gave Abe a wink. Abe's eyes lit up immediately, and he didn't care to wipe his saliva. He jumped directly onto the long table in Gryffindor, grabbed his favorite food, and started to gnaw wildly. The 3 of them were stunned and didn't react until Abe had devoured a third of the food. "Stop. No, shut up," Ron said hastily. Harry subconsciously wanted to stop him, but when he thought that his small body was incomparable to a dragon, his outstretched hands stopped in midair. Hermione lifted Abe up and said helplessly, "This is not for you. If you want to eat, come over tomorrow." "So, who are you preparing this for?" A playful voice suddenly came. A voice from behind startled all 3 of them. "No, we ate it ourselves," Ron said immediately. "Really? Do you expect me to believe that?" Aaron gave him a skeptical look. You ate it all yourself and put it in your school bag. And packed so much, even if you were trying to eat away your grief and indignation because of the newspaper, you wouldn't wait until the next day to do it. Ah, well. Harry was silent for a moment before admitting, we went to visit Sirius. He's back. Damn, he dares to come back? Aaron said incredulously. Even though the Ministry of Magic has relaxed his arrest, it doesn't mean they'll turn a blind eye to a supposed murderer. That's why we decided to sneak up on him, Harry explained. Understood, Aaron nodded, then picked up his belongings and prepared to leave. Wait, Hermione said hastily. You can come with us. Forget it. If he's taking such a big risk to return to Hogwarts to find you, it must be something serious. Big things are often troublesome, and I don't want to get involved. It might have something to do with the mysterious man, Harry said suddenly. I told him about my dream. Aaron stopped abruptly. If it had been half a month ago, he would have hastened to leave upon hearing this, but the situation was different now. The change in the dark mark indicated that the dark forces would soon make a comeback. Before the other side was fully revived, knowing more information could help protect himself. When are we meeting? Aaron asked. We're getting ready to go now, Harry replied. Is it secret? Aaron asked in a deep voice. Or is it safe? It must be safe. Sirius has been hiding outside for a year without being discovered, and not many people know that he is an animagus, Harry said. It's just that his situation may not be very good. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reminded us to bring him more food. Aaron pondered for a moment. Get the invisibility cloak ready. Chapter 390, A Strange Disease. I drank compound decoction for half a year. Outside the village of Hogsmeade, the four friends saw a familiar, ominous figure, a large black dog. Hello, Sirius, Harry greeted. The black dog eagerly approached Harry, sniffing his school bag and gradually wagging its tail. Hey, this is crazy hungry, Harry exclaimed. The black dog nodded slightly, but did not deny it. The life of a fugitive is not easy. Hiding in other places is manageable, but Hogsmeade is a village of wizards. His arrest warrant has been posted here for a long time, and most people recognize him. To avoid attracting attention, he dared not even enter the village. As a result, he has almost no food source and eats the last meal without knowing when the next will come. The black dog turned around, ready to lead them to his hiding place. That's not necessary, Aaron said, handing him the invisibility cloak. Let's change back first. It's easier to eat. The black dog got into the invisibility cloak, and after a while, changed back to human form. Only one hand was exposed as he took Harry's backpack. The sound of chewing food came from the side, and Sirius said while eating, I'm starving to death. These days, I live by catching mice. At least you didn't starve to death, Aaron said. There are stray dogs that starve to death everywhere. Don't make that kind of joke, Sirius said, speechless. I came here on purpose this time because things are getting more and more complicated. I don't feel relieved if I don't come here in person. See this. He threw out 2 copies of the Daily Prophet, and the 4 immediately went to read them. One was titled The Curious Case of Barty Crouch's Illness, and the other was Ministry Witch Still Missing. Does this have anything to do with it? Hermione asked. It's common knowledge that Crouch is sick, said Ron. Percy is doing a lot of things for him now. He's Barty Crouch's personal assistant. With all due respect, I don't see where there is a problem, Aaron frowned. As a public official, isn't it normal to ask for leave when you are sick? It's true for other people, Sirius said, gulping down the pumpkin juice. But Barty Crouch is different. He didn't take a day off for himself because of illness. But this time, he not only asked for leave, but also for a continuous month. In that case, there is indeed a problem, Aaron conceded. The problem is not only that. Bertha Jorkins has not been found yet. She is Crouch's subordinate and is also clear about the news of the Triwizard Tournament. Crouch also fired Winky, Hermione said angrily. That's his house elf, and now Winky works at Hogwarts. Barty Crouch's wife and son are long dead, and he is alone. But now he has not been seen for a long time. No one knows about his illness. His subordinates have been missing for a long time, and the servants have also been fired. It is a coincidence that they all know the news of the Triwizard Tournament. You mean? Harry's face changed slightly. Voldemort. Don't say his name, Ron said hastily. All right, the mysterious man learned about the Triwizard tournament from Crouch or someone related to him, and then secretly arranged for someone to throw my name into the Goblet of Fire. It's quite possible, said Sirius, but we need to be sure. Ron, your brother is Crouch's personal assistant. Please ask him if he has seen Crouch recently. I'll try my best, Ron scratched his head. Percy has too much respect for Crouch. If you say that, it's not necessarily Karkaroff who threw my name into the Goblet of Fire, Harry frowned. He is one of the 3 principals, and he must have known about the Goblet of Fire in advance. So the situation is complicated. Karkaroff used to be a Death Eater. Although he was not imprisoned in Azkaban by betraying his companions, it cannot be ruled out that he wants to return to the mysterious man. He may have acted on his own and wants to use your life as a gift, or it may be arranged by the mysterious person to make to atone for his crime. But it's also possible that you know who arranged for someone else to put your name into the Goblet of Fire. It doesn't make any difference. They both want to kill me, Harry laughed bitterly. Then, as if struck by a thought, he added in a low voice, maybe it was Snape. Impossible, Aaron retorted firmly. Although Professor Snape's attitude towards you is a bit different, it is absolutely impossible for him to harm you. That's right, Hermione agreed. Dumbledore trusts Snape. He had many chances to harm you over the past few years. The Dark Mark hasn't appeared in the past few years. Harry interrupted her, exasperated. He didn't harm me before, maybe because the Dark Lord lost power, and he couldn't act under Dumbledore's watch. They could only make things difficult for me in other ways. But now that the Dark Mark has reappeared, maybe the time is ripe for him. Most importantly, Karkaroff and Snape were old acquaintances, and I saw them arguing when Aaron and I went to his private storage room. It's really interesting, Aaron sneered. Just because of this, you doubt Professor Snape? Harry Potter, how many times have you suspected that Professor Snape wanted to kill you? Harry was momentarily speechless. It seemed he always suspected Snape whenever something happened, but it was never him. I don't think it was Snape who put your name into the Goblet of Fire, Sirius said thoughtfully. If he were working for Voldemort, Dumbledore would never let him teach at Hogwarts. Did you hear that? Aaron gave Harry a pointed look. Even if you don't trust Professor Snape, you should trust Dumbledore. Mr. Black, is there anything else you want to tell us? Hermione asked. That's all for now. Find Barty Crouch, he might know something. Also, if you write a letter, send it to me here so I can stay informed of any abnormal situations. But you can't leave Hogwarts to see me. It would be too dangerous if someone wants to attack Harry. Dangerous? Harry smiled wryly. What could be more dangerous than a fire dragon in Grindylow? The 3rd task, Sirius reminded solemnly. The first 2 tasks didn't kill you, so the 3rd task is the last chance. The 3rd task can be very dangerous, and you must not be careless. Understood, Harry nodded seriously. At least you are safe until the 3rd task starts, Aaron teased. There are more than 3 months in between, enough for you to have a good rest. Hearing this, a look of embarrassment appeared on Harry's face. That's what he said, but he didn't dare to think so. Sufficient time is all an illusion, and the 2nd task had taught him enough lessons. If he hadn't prepared ahead of time, the 3rd task might have killed him, and he wouldn't be so naive as to think that Dobby could help him again. Okay, it's time for you to go back to school. If any of you talk about me, just call me Cold. After the words fell, the school bag was stuffed into Harry's arms, but the food inside was gone, leaving only a few bones and 2 empty bottles. Sirius transformed back into the black dog. Harry put away the invisibility cloak that had fallen on the ground, waved to the black dog, and turned back to Hogwarts Castle. In the Shenming Hall, Aaron shared his memory with the thought body. It can't be Professor Snape, and it can't be Karkaroff, the thought body said firmly. If there is no accident, Voldemort should have sent someone to infiltrate Hogwarts. Are you sure? Remember, Professor Snape said that the African tree snake skin and lacewing flies are missing? It seems that someone is really preparing Polyjuice Potion. Your reasoning ability is impressive. The thought body rolled its eyes and complained. In addition to taking 2 elective courses, you are practicing magic in the Shenming Temple. If it were you, it would be inevitable that you wouldn't think about other things. Aaron smiled awkwardly. Aaron quickly changed the subject. The question is, who is this person? I don't know. The sing body replied, spreading its hands in exasperation. We don't have any suspects right now. This person is very smart and cautious, leaving no flaws behind. They must have imprisoned someone and used that person's hair or nails to continuously make polyjuice potion, allowing them to sneak into Hogwarts undetected. A ruthless individual, Aaron remarked with a sense of awe. I'm afraid this person integrated into the school before the Goblet of Fire. If they started on the first day of school, they would have been drinking polyjuice potion for half a year. This timeline will likely extend, and they probably won't appear before the third task, Aaron continued, non-committal. The person put Harry Potter's name into the Goblet of Fire, clearly intending to kill him through the Triwizard Tournament. There were accidents in the first two tasks, one when Professor Moody reminded Harry to use the broomstick, and the other when Dobby stole the gillyweed. But the third task is unavoidable for the other party. If they fail again, they might even take action personally. Poor Harry Potter, every year is so tragic, the missing body commented. We should be glad he's still alive. Without him as a shield, we might have to endure similar treatment, Aaron noted. That's true. His bad luck is his problem, not mine, Aaron said, but a wry smile soon appeared on his face. According to Adrian's request, I have to escort the other champions during the final task, which means I have to protect Harry Potter. The missing body shrugged. Even without your sister's request, we can't let him die. I know, but it still makes me inexplicably upset, Aaron said, both angry and helpless. And this means we might have to face the person who put Harry's name into the Goblet of Fire. That's okay, the missing body said in a calm tone. As long as we don't face Voldemort head-on, there's nothing to fear. His Death Eaters won't be a match for us. Chapter 391, Ab's highlight moment, facing the Nifflers. Harry, Ron, and Hermione sent a letter to Percy, inquiring about Barty Crouch's condition. During this period, apart from using owls to regularly bring food to Sirius, they eagerly awaited Percy's reply. In the Protection of Fantastic Beasts class, Hagrid concluded his lecture on unicorns. This time he brought out some more boxes. Just as everyone was worried about what might be inside, Hagrid opened the boxes triumphantly. Inside were many platypus-like creatures with black fur and flat, shovel-like front paws. Is this a Niffler? Someone asked. Very discerning, Mr. Gaius, Hagrid praised. Usually you can find them in mines. What Nifflers love most are shiny things. At that moment, the Nifflers in the box seemed to sense something. Dozens of them suddenly jumped out and rushed towards Aaron. Bloody hell, Aaron swore subconsciously. Before he could react, Ab leaped out of his arms, roaring as it met the oncoming Nifflers. The fourth-year students of Slytherin and Gryffindor were wide-eyed. Except for a few who knew about Ab's race, it seemed to others like a cat was fighting dozens of platypus-like creatures. Ab was like a tiger among sheep, quickly waving its paws and tail, dispatching the Nifflers with ease. The black-furred creatures were thrown out one by the white holy dragon. 2 minutes later, only one white cat stood proudly in the middle of the field, with one of its front paws pinning down a Niffler and another one in its mouth. Great! It's amazing! This class is really worth it, Simo said in admiration, clapping his hands. The others followed suit, and thunderous applause filled the air. Ab became the star of the show, completely overshadowing the two unicorn cubs. If it weren't for the inappropriate setting, it would have had the urge to raise its head to the sky and howl in triumph. Boom! A large hand pressed directly on its head and lifted it up. The subdued Nifflers quickly ran to Hagrid's side as if they had been pardoned, clearly knowing who could protect them. Hagrid, I'm sorry, Aaron said, embarrassed. He then waved his wand, and all the Nifflers in the field flew back into Hagrid's box. It's okay, really, Hagrid said excitedly. Dragons were his favorite, and seeing Ab's battle up close was quite thrilling. Besides, Ab's strikes were measured, and the Nifflers weren't harmed. Aaron looked at Ab with a stern expression. Explain yourself. Don't be too hard on it. I might know what's going on, Hagrid said with a smile. Nifflers love gold coins. It must be the things in Abby's pocket that attracted them. Hearing this, the corners of Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. Abby nodded persistently. Last year, Aaron had spent a lot of gold on the feathers of magical animals, which had pained Ab for a long time. It had been reluctant, but said nothing. This time, however, it couldn't bear it. A group of nifflers dared to covet its wealth and openly tried to snatch it. Did they really think the holy dragon had no temper? Let's continue with the class. Nifflers are well-known treasure detectors, so you can have a good time today, Hagrid smiled, pointing to a large piece of newly opened land. I buried some gold coins there. You can each pick a niffler. Whoever finds and digs out the most gold coins will get a prize. Just make sure to remove all valuables from your body, or you might find them stolen by the nifflers. The students took off their watches and necklaces, emptied their pockets of money, and then went forward to claim a niffler. These platypus-like magical creatures were not as dangerous as snails, nor as wary of humans as unicorns. They were gentle and affectionate with humans. Soon, the treasure digging began, and the speed at which the nifflers dug was impressive. The groundhogs dug out gold coins one by one and handed them to their owners with their mouths. Ron gained the most, as the gold coins he found were several times more than the others. It was a rare moment for him, to experience the happiness of a rich man. Aaron, on the other hand, gained the least because his groundhog New scratched the soil a few times and then looked back at Ab's pocket. Clearly, a severe beating still couldn't stop his love for gold coins. When the class was over, Hagrid took back all the gold coins and gave Ron a large bar of chocolate as a reward. I really want to buy one as a pet, Ron said earnestly. Better not, Hagrid replied. Snuffers are great at treasure hunting, but they're also great at tearing down houses. I don't want your mother writing to scold me. Ron smiled awkwardly, reluctant to return Chichu. In the next few weeks, everything seemed to go smoothly, but Hermione often received malicious letters accusing her of playing with other people's feelings. This made her patience with Rita Skeeter reach its limit. Towards the end of the Easter holidays, Harry's owl, Hedwig, flew back with a letter from Percy. Harry called Aaron and opened the letter in the Transfiguration classroom. The letter was not long, only a few lines, but Percy seemed rather impatient. Mr. Crouch worked so hard that I didn't see him in person. Many things were sent by owl instructions, but I would never mistake my boss's handwriting. I'm pretty busy right now, so don't bother me unless it's something urgent. After reading the letter, Aaron stroked his chin and pondered for a while. My intuition tells me that something has happened to Barty Crouch. But Percy said there was nothing wrong with his handwriting, Ron said, puzzled. Maybe he is really seriously ill. Maybe, but I still trust my instincts. It's best not to guess casually without definite evidence, Hermione said seriously. Mr. Crouch is the director of the Ministry of Magic, after all, and we are just a few fourth-year wizards. No one will believe us for no reason. Aaron couldn't deny it and then looked at Harry. No matter what Crouch's current situation is, we can't control it, but you need to prepare early. I understand, Harry nodded, then said dejectedly, but the last task of the Triwizard Tournament has not been announced yet. I want to prepare, but I don't know how. Then find a way to improve your strength. The last task must be related to the strength of the warriors. Are you so sure? Ron asked skeptically. Remember what Hagrid said when he first took out the snails? Aaron said meaningfully. It was for a big project. The three of them looked at each other, then thought of something and swallowed together. Hermione frowned and said solemnly, You mean the warriors of the Triwizard Tournament may have to face the fried-tailed snails? Correct, it's an adult snail. If nothing else, they should be able to grow to a height of more than 3 meters. Hearing this, Harry turned pale. He didn't think he could defeat such a monster. It's okay, Ron forced a smile and said with a stiff face, The snails are almost dead. There should be few left now. I don't deny this, but it also shows that the third task is not only the snail. There may be other dangerous creatures. At least 5 warriors must face one. Harry pursed his lips with difficulty and asked, Do you have any suggestions? Hey, Aaron's mouth twitched, and he said speechlessly, I won't talk about the attacking spells. You know some. But the defensive ones. The Iron Curse? Hermione said without thinking. That's right. There are almost 2 months left. You'd better learn this spell. It will be a guarantee for your safety. Harry Potter. Time passed by, and it was the last week of May. On this day, Professor Snape told Aaron to go to the Quidditch pitch at 9 o'clock in the evening, where Mr. Bagman would tell the Warriors what the third task was. That night, Aaron set off half an hour early and met Harry and Cedric in the foyer. "What do you think it will be?" Cedric asked with interest. Fleur said it would be an underground tunnel. She thinks we are looking for treasure. "It's probably Ms. Maxime who told her," Aaron lied, shaking his head with a smile. "We learned about the sniffling creature in the Protection of Magical Beasts class some time ago. It seems that Ms. Maxime misunderstood something." "The situation may be more difficult than you think," Harry interjected, glancing at Aaron. Seeing that Aaron didn't respond, he continued, "If nothing else happens, we may have to deal with the bomb-tailed snails." "What?" Cedric exclaimed, suddenly losing his composure. "You're not kidding, are you?" Although he was in 7th grade, he knew a little about Hagrid's snails, and Rita Skeeter had written about the ferocity of that creature in the newspaper. "Not sure, but very likely," Harry said. The three of them crossed the lawn and entered the field. As soon as they did, Harry and Cedric became angry. The Quidditch field seemed to be gone. The pitch was no longer smooth, and the goals had been removed and replaced by green foliage plants. These plants formed a series of walls, intricately connected together, meandering and stretching in all directions. "This is interesting," Aaron said half-jokingly, "but I don't like this kind of level very much. It's too convoluted. Especially since there are all kinds of monsters inside," Harry added with a wry smile. "You're here," Bagman called from the center of the court, with Krum and Fleur standing next to him. The three of them looked at each other, walked through the not-so-high plants, and approached the middle. "I believe you should have guessed what the last task is, right?" Bagman asked. Chapter 392, Embarrassing Setting. "Don't worry about this. A maze," Aaron said firmly. "But it should be more than just a maze." "Of course," Bagman replied. "The maze is the most basic part. There are also many obstacles, such as the amusing animals provided by Hagrid." Hearing this, the faces of the 3 Hogwarts warriors turned grim. Krum and Fleur might not know Hagrid well, but they were aware that the animals he found amusing were generally ferocious. They were at least 90% sure that the blast-ended Scroot would be among them. "The warrior with the leading score enters the maze first, which means Mr. Gaius has the upper hand," Bagman continued, raising his eyebrows at Aaron. "Then Harry Potter, followed by Mr. Krum. Fourth is Cedric, and last is Mademoiselle Delacour." Aaron forced a smile. According to Adrian's request, he had to be the last to enter the maze. This opportunity held little value for him. The trophy of the Triwizard Tournament will be placed in the center of the maze, and the objective of the third task is to find it. Any questions? "Yes," Aaron raised his hand. "How will the third task be scored?" "Well, this," Bagman hesitated, unsure how to explain. "Is it difficult?" Aaron frowned slightly. "Mr. Bagman, I think we have the right to know the scoring criteria." Bagman hesitated for a moment. "The first warrior to reach the trophy will get a perfect score." "What about the others?" Aaron pressed. "Mr. Gaius, the perfect score I mentioned actually means the champion." "Waterfa." Aaron couldn't hold back. He felt a whirlwind and took a few steps back. He suddenly realized that he seemed to have fallen into a bottomless pit from the very beginning, one he couldn't climb out of. If he was the last to enter the maze, he would miss the championship and fail to meet his sister's requirements. This would mean a blind date with Kalia during the summer vacation. But if he won the championship, he would have to be the first to enter the maze, and if he still couldn't meet his sister's request, he would inevitably face the blind date upon returning home. It would be fine if it was an irrelevant person he could tactfully refuse, but Kalia was special. Their childhood sweetheart relationship and their respective family backgrounds made it a complicated issue. Seeing Aaron's bewildered look, the others seemed to have realized something, and their eyes widened. "Aaron," Harry said with a hint of glee, "your sister won't let you off the hook, will she?" "Shut up," Aaron snapped, then turned to Bagman. "This isn't fair. I strongly recommend that the final champion be decided based on the points obtained." "Don't get excited, Mr. Gaius. I fully understand how you feel, Bagman said, taking a deep breath and explaining softly. But in fact, it's fair. Your scores in the first 2 tasks earned you the right to enter the maze first, giving you a head start of several minutes. Am I short of those few minutes? Aaron yelled angrily. Realizing his attitude was off, he forced a smile. I just think deciding the championship based solely on the order of entry is a bit sloppy. The last one to enter might get the trophy smoothly, while I, the first to go through numerous obstacles, might not make it out in time. Fleur smiled and pursed her lips. I would like to borrow your good words. Luck is also a part of strength, Bagman said calmly. If it were calculated by points, then Miss Delacour might not win the championship, no matter how well she performs in the 3rd task. That wouldn't be fair. That's the reason, Fleur said proudly. Mr. Bagman is indeed worthy of being the director of the Department of Magical Sports and Games. He is truly fair and just. Hearing this, Aaron almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. If he had known earlier, he would have made sure this woman. Aaron felt the weight of the second project bearing down on him. While others might not understand the restrictions Adrian had imposed, his friends certainly did. Their sarcastic remarks felt like salt in a wound. All right, Mr. Bagman, Aaron said, trying to calm himself. Did my sister, Referee Klein, have anything to say? Bagman hesitated before replying. Oh, right, she did have a message for you. She said there are more ways than difficulties. Aaron blinked, confused. That's it, Bagman confirmed. Aaron sighed, exasperated. Having such a sister is both a blessing and a curse. Don't worry about it, Cedric interjected. If you ask me, the competition should be fair. You don't need to take Klein's request to heart. Aaron shook his head, frustrated. My sister has a way of getting what she wants. If I don't meet her expectations, it's going to be difficult, to say the least. Cedric and the others exchanged glances, realizing it was futile to persuade Aaron further. For Cedric, it was a relief to see a strong competitor potentially sidelined. On the way back, Aaron's demeanor kept others at bay. He knew he needed to confront Adrian about the situation. Winning the championship without being the first to touch the trophy felt contradictory and against the spirit of the game. As they exited the maze, Harry was called away by Crumb for a private discussion. Fleur headed towards the Forbidden Forest, where Beauxbaton's carriage was parked, while Aaron and Cedric returned to Hogwarts Castle. The next morning, Aaron woke up feeling more relaxed, having decided to put his troubles aside for now. He believed there was a solution to his problem, and with nearly a month before the 3rd project, he was confident he would find it. If all else failed, he could ask Adrian directly before the game started. After leaving the common room, Aaron walked into the auditorium where Harry, Ron, and Hermione approached him anxiously. I'm not in a good mood. Let's talk after breakfast, Aaron said casually. It's urgent, Harry insisted, his eyes serious. Aaron sighed, rolling his eyes. All right, what is it? Mr. Crouch is missing, Harry said in a low voice. We speculated about this a month ago. It's not surprising, Aaron replied dismissively. Listen to me, Harry continued. Mr. Crouch came to Hogwarts last night, but he looked deranged and kept demanding to see Dumbledore. Aaron's interest piqued. Tell me everything, Harry nodded. Crumb and I were talking near the Forbidden Forest last night. It was about Hermione. He read Rita Skeeter's article. What? Hermione interjected, her anger barely contained. Why didn't you tell me? He just wanted to know if the article was true. I explained it to him, and he believed me, Harry said quickly. Don't interrupt, Hermione. Harry, go on, Aaron urged. Crouch then appeared from the Forbidden Forest, saying he had done something terrible and barely escaped. He wanted to warn Dumbledore. He also mentioned Bertha Jorkins, and he seemed certain she was dead. Anything else? Aaron asked. He kept saying it was all his fault and mentioned his son, Harry continued. His son? Aaron frowned. But his son died years ago. I'm sure I heard him right, but he was clearly out of his mind, almost delusional. He even thought his wife and son were still alive and that they were a happy family. He kept giving instructions to Percy as if he were still working for him, Harry explained. Aaron's mind raced with the implications of Harry's story. Something was seriously wrong, and he needed to get to the bottom of it. Poor Percy Weasley, Hermione sighed. He always thought his boss wanted to train him. Is that so? Aaron mused thoughtfully. What about Voldemort? Can you not mention his name? Ron said, trembling. Crouch says you-know-who is getting stronger. Aaron let out a long breath. What is destined to happen will always come to pass. That much is true. Harry nodded, clearly in agreement. After that, I asked Krum to keep an eye on him and went to Dumbledore, but Snape wouldn't let me in. Fortunately, Dumbledore came out on his own after a while, and he followed me to the Forbidden Forest to meet Crouch. Then he disappeared? Aaron asked, Ed in surprise. That's right. We didn't see him when we arrived, and Krum was stunned by the sleeping curse. Aaron was silent for a moment before saying, We should inform Cold about this first. We've already written to him, said Ron. I almost understand the situation. Aaron tapped the table thoughtfully. If there were no accidents, Barty Crouch was likely under the Imperious Curse. The specific time should be before he handed over his job to Percy. However, being able to break free from mind control and make it to Hogwarts is quite impressive. But who could control him? How long has he been under control? Hermione asked, puzzled. Barty Crouch was the director of the Department of International Magical Cooperation, and his magical power would certainly be formidable. Someone, Aaron said meaningfully. Isn't the Dark Lord getting stronger? The three of them immediately turned pale with shock and swallowed involuntarily. You mean the Dark Lord did it himself? Harry asked anxiously. But logically, he should be very weak. What if you add Wormtail? Aaron countered. Harry was momentarily speechless. Professor Trelawney's prophecy mentioned that Wormtail would return to Voldemort. It wouldn't be difficult for the two of them to control Crouch together. Now, all the clues are fragmented, and many things have become more confusing. There's only one thing we can do, not worry about this mess. The three of them, Chapter 393, a qualified sparring partner, Crouch may be in trouble. After confirming Crouch's disappearance, Dumbledore notified the Ministry of Magic, and Fudge immediately sent someone to investigate. Harry received a reply from Sirius, in which he criticized him for meeting Krum alone outside Hogwarts Castle and urged him to practice a few practical spells for the third task. Not only did his godfather say so, but Moody also gave the same suggestion. Harry could only selectively forget about Crouch's disappearance, as there was nothing he could do about it, even if he wanted to. For a while, Hermione and Ron became good teammates, accompanying Harry to the library every day to look for possible spells and then practicing them in an empty classroom. In divination class, Aaron sat next to Harry and Ron. Seeing their exhausted faces, he couldn't help but be curious. What's the matter with you two? You look much more haggard than usual, Aaron asked. Ask him, Ron pointed to Harry, his eyes full of helplessness. I've been practicing spells lately, so I'm a little tired, Harry explained. Are you tired? It's me who's tired, Ron said angrily. I'm the only one willing to be your training partner. I get hit by the stunning curse more than 10 times a day, and my whole body hurts from the falls. Hiss! Aaron couldn't help but gasp, looking at Ron with both admiration and a trace of concern. You're brave enough to be a living sparring partner. If Harry accidentally casts the crushing charm instead of the stunning charm, you might end up spending your holidays in the school hospital. Aaron, can you lend Abe to us? Ron asked. What do you want him for? Aaron inquired. To find Harry a perfect partner, Ron said naturally. Abe is a dragon with high magic resistance and agility, right? And with rough skin and thick flesh, he won't feel much pain when hit by a spell. Hey! Aaron sneered. You're not Abe. How do you know being hit by a curse doesn't hurt? Abe nodded solemnly. Although its magic resistance was high, it still felt pain. If you want to kill me, just say so, Harry said speechlessly. What if I anger Abe and he slaps me with a paw? Ron looked at the harmless-looking Abe, and the corner of his mouth twitched involuntarily. His knowledge of Abe was still from the first grade, but even so, he knew that Harry's small body couldn't handle a single paw swipe from Abe. Forget it, Ron conceded. The class bell rang, and Professor Trelawney descended the stairs. The fire was particularly strong today, and the incense she wore soon permeated the classroom, making everyone's minds swell. Harry, Ron whispered, why don't you open the window? Harry nodded, opened the window a crack, and felt a little more comfortable with the cool wind blowing in. My dear, Professor Trelawney said in a spirited voice, We've almost finished discussing planetary divination, but today is a good time to study the role of Mars, as it is currently in a very interesting position. Please look this way. I'll turn off the light. Professor Trelawney waved her wand, and all the lights went out, leaving the fire as the only source of light. She took out a small model of the solar system, with the 9 planets and their satellites shining in their respective positions. Mars formed a wonderful angle with several other planets. While everyone was admiring the sight of the planets moving, Harry suddenly let out a scream. He covered his face, the scar on his forehead glowing faintly red in the dark. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Harry. Ron hurriedly helped him up, asking worriedly, "Are you okay?" Of course he has something to do. Professor Trelawney looked extremely excited, but was interrupted by Aaron. "Professor, I think he should be sent to the hospital first," Aaron suggested. "Gaius," Professor Trelawney said reluctantly, "he was obviously affected by the supervision in the classroom if you miss this opportunity." "I just want to know how to stop the pain," Harry said hastily. "Professor, I'll send him to Ms. Pomfrey. I'm afraid I'll have to take a leave of absence for this class," Aaron said, helping Harry out of the classroom. They left Trelawney with a disappointed expression and a group of confused students. The two exited through the trapdoor and descended the stairs. Once they reached the next floor, Aaron looked at Harry seriously. "What did you dream about?" "Voldemort," Harry gasped nervously. "He was with Pettigrew and a big snake." "What did they say? I need Voldemort's exact words, not yours," Aaron insisted. Harry thought for a moment, trying to imitate a cold, shrill voice. "Wormtail, you're very lucky that your mistake didn't mess things up. He's Nagini. That should be the name of the big snake." "Exact words," Aaron reminded. "Nagini, you're out of luck. I'm not going to feed you Wormtail, but that's okay in Harry Potter. It seems Voldemort is planning to kill you and feed you to the snake," Aaron concluded. Harry shivered in panic. "This joke is not funny at all. This dream of yours confirms my previous guess. Crouch was probably controlled by Voldemort, but Wormtail's negligence allowed him to escape to Hogwarts. That means Mr. Crouch is," Harry began. "Dead," Aaron said, taking a deep breath. "Voldemort must have other servants. He was hiding in Hogwarts. When you were looking for Dumbledore that night, he knocked Crumb unconscious and killed Crouch. As for how the body was disposed of, I don't know, but there are too many ways for us to find him." "Karkaroff or Snape?" Harry asked, frowning. "Let me warn you one last time. Don't doubt Professor Snape," Aaron said angrily. "Although he has treated you badly in recent years, he has protected you more than once. Otherwise, you would have fallen off your broomstick in your first year. It doesn't have to be Karkaroff. You heard the conversation between him and Professor Snape that day. This headmaster is a coward with a strong exterior. Otherwise, Professor Snape wouldn't have persuaded him to run away. If it's not him, and it's not Snape, who could it be?" Harry was upset and at a loss for a while. After a moment, he calmed down. "We need to go to the principal's office. You have to tell Dumbledore." Aaron didn't object. This situation had already cost lives, showing that the person hiding in the school would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. He absolutely didn't mind killing people. The two sped up to the principal's office, but the stone gargoyle in front of the door wouldn't let them pass easily. "I don't know the password," Aaron admitted. "Iced lemonade," Harry said tentatively. The stone statue remained motionless. "Pear candy, BB's weird beans, chocolate frog." A series of snack names popped out of his mouth, but none worked. Aaron was a little dumbfounded. He didn't believe Harry could list so many names without special practice. "I want to see him." "I have something important to do," Harry said, kicking the stone statue angrily. He then sat down, hugging his right foot in pain. "Why don't you take a rest for a while?" Aaron handed over a bottle of water. "Be full of energy and continue to try. I believe you will be able to move this stone statue." Harry took a sip in a daze and continued. "Bubblegum, candy cane quill, cockroach cluster. Click." The stone statue moved and rose slowly, revealing a spiral staircase. "Cockroach cluster," Aaron said speechlessly. "What kind of password is this?" "I made this up," Harry admitted, looking a little embarrassed. "Don't worry about it so much. Let's go in first." The two walked up the stairs and approached an oak door. "Something has to be done, Fudge." I can't act rashly. The wizarding world needs a strong leadership team at times like this, Dumbledore. Then don't disappoint them. But I haven't found any signs of murder. Not at all. Bertha's disappearance and Barty's disappearance have nothing to do with each other. So the Triwizard Tournament will never be cancelled, and I cannot be taken for a coward. True leaders are wise and courageous, and they don't care what other people think. I don't quite agree with that, Aaron said, lowering his voice. I personally believe that a wise leader needs to care about what the people think. Sorry, gentlemen, came Moody's voice. It seems your conversation is no longer private. As his voice trailed off, the oak door slowly opened. Aaron immediately took a few steps back and stood behind Harry Potter. Harry, Fudge said with a kind smile, it's nice to see you again. And Aaron, say hello to your sister for me. Yes, Aaron responded with a smile. Professor Dumbledore, we have something to discuss with you. Dumbledore paused for a moment, then turned to look at Fudge and Moody. You may have to wait a while. We need to check the venue for the third event. Aaron raised his eyebrows, exchanged a glance with the creature in his arms, and suppressed the excitement in his heart. It's okay. The Triwizard Tournament is more important. Take your time. We're not in a hurry. The three men looked at each other, then walked away from Aaron and Harry silently, closing the door behind them. As the sound of their footsteps faded, Aaron immediately gave a signal to the creature in his arms. The creature, understanding instantly, jumped to the ground and stared at the phoenix, Fawkes, on its golden perch with clear eyes. It then took a deep breath. Fawkes trembled for a moment and let out an unnatural cry. But by this time, Dumbledore had already left, and the door to the headmaster's office was closed. What is it doing? Harry asked nervously. The creature seemed harmless, but it made him feel uneasy. Chapter 394, The Plucked Phoenix, Dumbledore's Pensieve. It's nothing. I guess I'm just a little excited to see my old friend, Aaron said, trying to sound nonchalant. Is this really excitement? Harry asked skeptically. But Abe has already shown his claws. It won't. Before Harry could finish his sentence, Abe turned into a white blur, accelerating towards Fawkes. The phoenix immediately spread its wings and flew to the ceiling, trying to escape. Roar! Abe roared, spreading his white wings and flying in mid-air to pursue Fawkes. The two figures, one red and one white, darted around the principal's office, knocking over gold and silver utensils. Fawkes was in a dire situation. Although he didn't want to admit it, he couldn't match Abe's speed and strength. If they were outside, Fawkes might have had a chance to escape, but the confined space of the principal's office left him vulnerable. In no time, Abe caught up and clamped his sharp claws around Fawkes's neck. Fawkes saw the pure joy in Abe's eyes and panicked. Crimson flames ignited all over his body, hoping the high temperature would force Abe to release him. Abe, however, gave a disdainful glance, and a layer of white scales appeared on his body, easily resisting the phoenix's flames. Next, Abe's other claw began to pluck Fawkes's feathers. The phoenix let out a mournful whine. In just a few seconds, 1/3 of his red and golden feathers were plucked, including several of his dazzling tail feathers. Stop it! Stop it quickly! Harry couldn't bear to watch anymore and shouted urgently. Abe paused and turned to look at Aaron. Seeing his master nod, he released the now disheveled phoenix. Don't mind it, Aaron said seriously, though it was clear he was making it up. Sometimes the way magical animals greet each other is quite unpretentious. Is this a greeting? Harry said angrily. Even if I don't read much, you wouldn't fool me like this. Look at Fawkes. He's crying. What? Crying? Aaron seemed a little surprised and quickly walked up to Fawkes. Just when Harry thought he was going to comfort and apologize, Aaron took out an empty crystal bottle from his pocket. Smart move, Aaron praised Abe, patting his little head. He then carefully collected Fawkes's tears. This is a holy medicine for healing. It's a pity to let it go to waste. Abe snorted disdainfully and began putting the plucked feathers into his pocket, right in front of Fawkes. The phoenix cried even more sadly, and the tears flowed faster. Harry, watching this scene, was stunned and couldn't find the words to describe it. He had witnessed something extraordinary today. Aaron and Abe's actions had opened a new world for him, one where even tears and feathers were collected without a second thought. This is a sad reminder. Dumbledore will be very angry when he comes back, Harry said, feeling a sense of impending doom. No, it's just a little feather plucking, Aaron replied dismissively. Is that a little bit? Harry said, exasperated. Fawkes looks worse than a turkey now. Aaron paused for a moment, then gave Harry a thumbs up. This is really just the right amount of compensation. Before Harry could react, Abe handed Aaron another empty crystal bottle. Originally, Fawkes's tears were almost exhausted, but Harry's words made Aaron collect another half bottle of tears. Okay, the harvest is full, Aaron said with satisfaction. Abe patted his pocket, feeling that today's trip was worthwhile. Unable to bear it, Harry picked Fawkes up, gently placed him on a soft cushion, and gave him some water to drink. Dumbledore will definitely not let us go when he comes back and sees Fawkes looking so sickly, Harry said, feeling a sense of dread. This time, you've really caused a lot of trouble. Don't worry, the self-healing ability of the Phoenix is exaggerated. To a certain extent, they are immortal creatures, Aaron said indifferently. The damage to its body now is temporary. Ab hesitated for a moment, then reluctantly approached Fawkes and activated his healing ability. A white magic circle floated above Fawkes, and after a while, the injuries on its body were fully healed. Except for the loss of some feathers, it was almost impossible to tell that it had been injured. Harry's mouth twitched, and he subconsciously muttered, "What a loss!" "What did you say?" Aaron asked. "No, it's nothing," Harry quickly replied, waving his hand dismissively. He then looked around the messy headmaster's office. "Let's clean this up quickly before Dumbledore comes back." Aaron shrugged, pulled out his wand, and waved it towards the ground. The gold and silver utensils flew back to their respective positions. "It's done," Aaron said. "Amazing magical talent," the Sorting Hat commented. "It was right to sort you into Slytherin. Your value has been fully reflected." "Cut it out. If you don't want to take a bath, just shut your mouth," Aaron retorted. Harry shook his head speechlessly and found a chair to sit down. This was the first time he had sat so casually in the headmaster's office. He felt a lot more relaxed, knowing he could tell Dumbledore about his dream soon. In a daze, he noticed a cabinet that wasn't tightly closed, with bright silver light radiating from the gap. Curious, Harry walked over and opened the cabinet door. Inside was a shallow stone basin with strangely carved rims filled with letters and runes. There was no liquid in the basin, but wisps of silver light danced within, creating beautiful ripples. "Aaron, do you know what this is?" Harry asked. "I do," Aaron nodded. "This is called a pensieve. I have one too. This kind of magical item is quite rare. It can store memories, preventing them from being forgotten over time. People who store memories can also use it to observe them from a third perspective and find details that are easily overlooked." "Does that mean it contains Dumbledore's secrets?" Harry inquired. "No, not secrets. Just memories. No one puts real secrets in a pensieve. It would be too risky for others to see them," Aaron explained solemnly. "I occasionally put some memories in mine, but those memories aren't important, just ones I don't want to forget." Harry stuck his wand into the basin and gave it a stir. The silver streamers slowly turned and became more transparent. "That's not how you do it," Aaron said helplessly. "You have to get closer. If you want to know about Barty Crouch, just keep him in your mind." "Will there be any memories of him in here?" Harry asked. "There might not have been before, but Dumbledore will definitely have pulled out that part of the memory recently." Aaron's voice trailed off as Harry stuck his head into the pensieve. "Crazy!" Aaron muttered, his mouth twitching slightly. He hesitated for a moment before pulling Harry back. "You're amazing, but it's very dangerous to enter other people's memories without authorization. Haven't you learned anything from what Tom Riddle taught you?" "Dumbledore is completely different from Voldemort," Harry panted heavily. "And I learned a lot of useful things about Crouch, Karkaroff, Bagman, and Professor Snape." "What did you see?" Aaron asked, frowning. "Karkaroff's trial scene. He was arrested by Professor Moody, and Barty Crouch tried him. Karkaroff wanted to reveal the names of other Death Eaters to avoid Azkaban, but he was unlucky. The people he named were either dead or already captured. He also confessed about Severus Snape. Dumbledore said that Snape was his spy on Voldemort's side." "Phew." Aaron took a deep breath and looked at Harry seriously. "You must keep this to yourself and never tell anyone else, including Sirius." "Many people know about it. There were at least several hundred wizards at that trial, Harry argued. But there are also many who don't know, Aaron said angrily. At Hogwarts, hundreds of students are unaware. If you spread this news, Professor Snape will be in serious trouble. Harry nodded blankly. I see. And then, who did Karkaroff confess to? Not only did he get out of Azkaban, but he also became the headmaster of Durmstrang. He must have med someone significant. You won't believe it. It's unbelievable. Barty Crouch's son, Barty Crouch Jr., is a Death Eater. Wait, are you sure you read that right? Absolutely, Harry said with certainty. Old Barty sent his own son to Azkaban with his own hands. His wife fainted right in front of him. It's simply too cruel. Aaron was silent for a moment, absorbing the information. Is there more? Yes, Harry continued, his expression heavy. Neville's parents were tortured by several Death Eaters using the Cruciatus curse. Professor Moody knows about it. He used the curse in front of Neville during a Defense Against the Dark Arts class, probably to help him confront his nightmare. But it didn't work. Neville's face turned pale with fright. And then there's Ludo Bagman, who was also accused of being a Death Eater. Are you kidding? Aaron said in disbelief. If someone like Ludo Bagman can be a Death Eater, then Voldemort's selection standards must be incredibly low. Harry nodded in agreement. In his opinion, although Ludo Bagman could be annoying, he was fundamentally different from Death Eaters. At the very least, he lacked the courage to defy the laws of the Ministry of Magic. Many people thought the same, Harry said, spreading his hands. So Ludo Bagman was released with almost no trial. From what I've seen so far, I can only say that Dumbledore's memory is invaluable. Even a small leak of information from him would be enough to shock us for years. Chapter 395, Relatives of the Warriors, Humanitarian Care Crunch. The oak door swung open. Sorry to keep you waiting, Dumbledore said as he walked in, looking surprised to see the two standing in front of his Pensieve. Professor, Harry said, panicking. I know we shouldn't mess with your things, but the cabinet door was open, and this is the first time I've seen the Pensieve, so curiosity is not a sin, but you should proceed with caution. Dumbledore sighed helplessly. How do you know it's called a Pensieve? I have one too, Aaron said, holding up his hand. I see, Dumbledore said suddenly. Then before you fall into my thoughts, you have something to tell me, right? The two looked at each other, and Harry began to recount his dream from the divination class. Aaron suspected that Mr. Crouch was controlled by Voldemort with the Imperious Curse, but he managed to break free of the mind control by his own will. After escaping to Hogwarts, he might have, in my dream, Voldemort said he was dead. Hearing this, Dumbledore was silent for a moment, then said with emotion, It seems that the investigation by the Ministry of Magic is destined to end without resolution. Fudge has always liked to deceive himself. He thinks that Barty Crouch and Bertha Jorkins have mental problems, and it is normal for them to disappear. Aaron said, making no secret of his contempt for Fudge. All the Ministry of Magic might find are 2 bodies, or possibly none at all. Professor, Harry said hesitantly, do you think Voldemort has really become stronger? Dumbledore froze for a moment, then nodded hesitantly. All signs indicate that he is about to make a comeback, in a way I don't yet understand, but there is no doubt that his strength is gradually recovering. Maybe there is something I should tell you, Aaron said meaningfully. Professor Snape mentioned some time ago that he lost some African snake bark and lacewing flies, which are ingredients for Polyjuice Potion. A wise light flashed in Dumbledore's eyes, and many doubts were answered at that moment. Voldemort's men were hidden in Hogwarts through the use of Polyjuice Potion. But more questions arose, because this meant that, except for a few people, everyone else would be a suspect, even a first-year student. Mr. Gaius, thank you for this very helpful information. You're welcome, Aaron replied, waving his hand. Voldemort wants to kill Harry Potter, and the third event is the best chance. Don't worry about that. I will send Moody to check the maze continuously. I believe that during this period you have come to understand his abilities. Not to say that he is infallible, but he is not far behind. Hearing this, Harry breathed a sigh of relief. Besides Dumbledore, only Professor Moody could give him enough sense of security at Hogwarts. Okay, we should go, Aaron said, walking towards the oak door. Harry followed behind him, and as he walked out of the principal's office, he seemed to remember something. "Sir, if it's convenient, take care of Fawkes." Dumbledore was a little confused, then turned his head to look at the perch. In the next moment, his eyes almost popped out. His phoenix, Fawkes, was nowhere to be seen. This Aaron Gaius. Dumbledore wanted to curse angrily, but only he and a loveless phoenix were left in the principal's office. Aaron and Harry, who were walking towards the common room, suddenly shivered. They looked back at the principal's office in tacit understanding, as if they saw the whole building wrapped in a layer of black anger, and quickened their pace out of guilt. Time moved to June, and the third event was getting closer. Due to the Triwizard Tournament, this year's holiday time was postponed, and the exam time was also delayed. Several participating warriors did not need to take the final exams, but the rest of the students were hurrying to review. In addition to diligently signing in every day, Aaron was practicing the magic circle with his mind-body, exchanging ideas from time to time to increase combat experience and skills. Hermione and Ron often helped Harry practice spells at school, and Professor McGonagall granted them permission to use the Transfiguration classroom as a dedicated training room. Harry worked diligently for the third task, training overtime every day, and managed to master several spells in a short period. Although he was still somewhat inexperienced with the shield charm, he had become proficient with the impediment jinx, reductor curse, and stunning spell. This gave him a bit more confidence in the maze. Even if he couldn't defeat the creatures inside, he was certain he could at least escape. The day before the competition, when the 5 champions were tense, the freshly released Daily Prophet was delivered to Hogwarts. Aaron had developed a good habit of reading newspapers during this time, but he couldn't help but click his tongue in disapproval when he saw the headlines. Harry Potter, distraught and emotionally dangerous. The newspaper described Harry's performance in divination class in an extremely exaggerated manner, adding some so-called expert opinions to provide a series of distorted explanations for the pain of the scar on his forehead. The final conclusion was that Harry Potter was a dangerous boy who liked to study dark magic and was prone to losing control. Rita Skeeter's timing of publishing her article was quite precise. Releasing such explosive news the day before the competition ensured the newspapers would sell well. Harry was much calmer when he saw this newspaper. After all, he had been slandered several times before, and his psychological resilience had improved. Compared to the previous times, this isn't so bad. At least I didn't end up crying alone in the dark, Harry remarked. How did Rita Skeeter know that your scar hurt during divination class? Hermione asked, puzzled. It's impossible for her to have been there during the class. Who knows? She might have been eavesdropping outside, Ron suggested. Her work ethic is abysmal. She could definitely do something like that. But divination class is on the top floor of the North Tower, Hermione frowned. Eavesdropping would mean climbing to the window on the top floor. Isn't that too risky? She could fly, Aaron said abruptly. Unless she also has an invisibility cloak, that's the only possibility. But Dumbledore doesn't allow her to enter Hogwarts Castle casually, so the broomstick can be ruled out. Hermione was stunned for a moment, then seemed to think of something. Her pupils widened. You mean? This is impossible, right? It's illegal, and if she gets caught... It's fine if she doesn't get caught. Obviously, she is very confident in herself, Aaron said with a meaningful smile. It can fly, it won't attract attention, and the body should not be very big. What do you think? That's right, I can definitely catch her, Hermione said excitedly. Harry and Ron looked at each other, confused. What are you talking about? They asked in unison. A major discovery. He means Rita Skeeter is... Hermione began. I didn't say anything, Aaron interrupted. I just find her annoying. To be fair, the content of the newspaper is indeed very interesting, but the quality has declined so much that sometimes I feel reading it is a waste of time. This situation will change soon, I promise, Hermione said confidently, then grabbed her school bag and left the Great Hall. Where did she go? Harry asked suspiciously. How would I know? Ron replied. The champions are to gather in the conference room next to the Great Hall after breakfast, Professor McGonagall announced as she approached them. Isn't the task tomorrow afternoon? Aaron asked. Or is there some new instruction? The relatives of the champions will be invited to watch the task. You can meet them first, Professor McGonagall explained before leaving Harry and Aaron staring at each other. Relatives? Aaron raised an eyebrow. I don't think my parents will come to watch this kind of competition. Most likely, it will be the Jins. The Dursleys won't be here, Harry murmured. It's not a bad thing for you. That's true, Aaron agreed. Harry forced a smile. The thought of the Dursleys coming made him uncomfortable. After breakfast, Aaron picked up Abe and headed towards the conference room. Fleur Delacour, Cedric Diggory, and Victor Crumb also rose from their respective tables and followed. Harry remained seated, feeling there was no need for him to go. His family would definitely not come, and Sirius was nowhere to be found. The four warriors passed through several gates and arrived at the meeting room. As Aaron had anticipated, his butler was there, but to his surprise, Adrian was also present. The other three warriors were chatting and laughing with their parents, and Fleur's parents had brought her sister, Gabrielle. Master, I personally suggest that you call Harry Potter, Jin said. Oh? Aaron's interest was piqued. Harry Potter's muggle relatives want to come over? No, but... Jins pointed to a man sitting in the corner eating. Miss Adrian invited him here. In a sense, he is also Harry's relative. Professor Lupin, Aaron's lips curled into a slight smile. It's really considerate of you to invite him. After all, as a referee, there must be some humanitarian care, Adrian explained. I originally planned to call Weasley over, but Mrs. Weasley seems to have discovered the large favor Leon gave to George and Fred. She is not optimistic about the twins' toy store, and Mr. Weasley is trying to persuade her with kind words. Understood, Aaron nodded and walked slowly to Professor Lupin. Long time no see, Professor. Long time no see, Mr. Gaius, Lupin replied, still eating. Thank you very much to your sister for having me here. She is truly a wonderful person. She provided me with a batch of wolfsbane potion, enough to last me for a year or two. Additionally, she gave me 1,000 gold galleons as an appearance fee. To be honest, I couldn't refuse such generous charity. Could you call Harry for me? It's been a long time since I've seen him. Yes, Aaron nodded immediately. But before that, do you have to explain to me why the letter you wrote to Moody spread rumors that I know the Cruciatus curse? That was somewhat unkind. Lupin looked taken aback. Chapter 396. Lupine, who has suffered a lot, prepares before the game. Harry, someone is waiting for you inside, Aaron called from the door of the conference room. Harry stood up in a daze, puzzled about who would come to watch him play. The Dursleys were certainly out of the question. His doubts were answered when the door opened, revealing Remus Lupin. Professor, I really didn't expect you to come to watch my game, Harry said, surprised. Miss Klein specially invited me. I'm not really your relative, but as your uncle, I thought I should come, Lupin replied with a warm smile. Harry nodded excitedly, but then noticed Lupin's bruised left eye and frowned. Professor, what happened to your eye? He hit it, Aaron interjected quickly. He got so excited that he accidentally bumped into the doorknob. Really? Harry asked, skeptical. That's it, Lupin confirmed, rubbing his eye awkwardly. Just moments ago, Aaron had demonstrated his astonishing magical talent. Using an illusion to deceive everyone's sight and a sound-suppressing spell to block any noise, he had swiftly landed a punch on Lupin. Lupin had been caught off guard, unable to react in time. His original intention was to prevent Aaron from taking a detour, but he hadn't expected Aaron to actually dare to attack a teacher. Although he felt aggrieved, he couldn't say anything, as he was in the wrong first. The illusion had been so convincing that no one in the conference room, except Adrian and Jins, had seen through it. This was intriguing. Jins, despite being a housekeeper, had an air of mystery about him. Adrian's extraordinary talent could explain her perception, and it was possible Aaron had lifted the illusion for her. However, several middle-aged wizards in the room, including Cedric's father, Amos Diggory, a director at the Ministry of Magic, hadn't seen through it either. This directly proved Aaron's high level of magical power. The problem was that both Adrian and Jins had ignored Aaron's punch. Even if Lupin wanted to seek justice, he had no way to do so and could only suffer in silence. Adrian and Jins didn't know what Lupin was thinking, but they both knew Aaron wouldn't act without reason. Lupin must have annoyed him somehow, and this punch was Aaron's way of settling past grievances. They had no reason to stop it. Harry, still suspicious, walked up to Adrian. "Thank you very much for bringing Professor Lupin here." "You're welcome. It's what the referee should do," Adrian replied indifferently. "Additionally, it seems someone is deliberately targeting you in the Tri-Wizard tournament. Inviting Remus Lupin, who knows everything, is also to prevent any accidents." Harry heaved a sigh of relief, feeling much more relaxed. With Dumbledore and Moody overseeing the event, it wouldn't be easy for Voldemort's men to kill him in the third task. Now, with Lupin's presence, he felt even more secure. "Let's go outside. It's somewhat inconvenient to talk here," Adrian suggested, leading the way out of the meeting room. Aaron shrugged helplessly and followed her. "You should know how to fulfill my request?" Adrian teased. "I know," Aaron replied, frustrated. "In the first task, I had to deal with the five-headed dragon alone. I was lucky to survive. In the second task, I had to make difficult choices and take care of the aftermath for others. Fortunately, I bluffed the mermaid leader and managed to get ashore. But isn't this third task too overwhelming? Sister, you're targeting me." "It can be said that," Adrian admitted directly, "but the choice is always yours." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "I said I'm not interested for the time being. I'm only 15 years old." "It's just a blind date, maybe an engagement at most. There's no need to make such a fuss," Aaron replied. "It's easy for you to say. I haven't seen you being this active," Adrian retorted. "If you can find someone suitable, you can introduce them to me. If not, just keep your mouth shut. Besides, my younger brother is the heir of the Klein family. It doesn't matter if I'm single, will my life." Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. He took a deep breath and said, "If I fulfill your request, how long can you fight for me?" Adrian raised a finger and said lightly, 1 year. "No, that's too little. You can get married at the age of 16, Adrian said anxiously. "This is the tacit understanding between the Gaius and Darwin families. No matter what happens between you and Keelia, you must try dating for a while." "I know," Aaron sighed. "But 1 year is really too little. How about 3 years? At least let me finish my studies at Hogwarts." "You're pushing it. I was ready to bargain for 1 year, but don't you think 3 years is too much?" Adrian said, exasperated. 2 years at most, because after 2 years, Keelia will be 16. If it drags on, not only will Keelia have problems with me, but your parents will also have issues with me. Aaron gritted his teeth. "Okay, 2 years it is." "That's more like it," Adrian said with a meaningful smile. "The third project is doing well. If it doesn't meet my requirements, it won't even last 2 years. Go home on vacation and prepare for a blind date." Aaron was speechless. He knew he had to go all out for tomorrow's game. "Uncle Jins, what is the progress of the magic weapon that Ancestor Alger built for me?" "All the parts have been built, and the last material can be assembled," Jins replied. Aaron nodded slightly. The progress was about what he expected. As for the last material being his own blood, there would be no problem after returning. Getting 4 magical weapons at once was quite exciting. "How is the progress of that artifact?" Aaron continued to ask. 1/3 done." "What?" Aaron's mouth dropped open in shock. It wasn't that the progress was low. On the contrary, it was much higher than he expected. "What happened?" "Didn't the young master send back 2 documents? Nether crystal is a natural magic power transmission material, but more importantly, black crystal is a universal fusion agent that can mix the characteristics of all materials and perfectly fuse them together," Jins explained. Aaron froze for a moment, then turned to look at Adrian. The black crystal was Adrian's Christmas gift to him. "Sister, you treat me better than my stingy ancestor." "Be polite," Adrian said, unable to suppress a laugh. "The ancestors of Gaius were responsible for future generations, and you are just one of them." Aaron nodded hurriedly. He was just complaining. "Is there any major event in the wizarding world recently?" "Apart from the disappearance of Barty Crouch and Bertha Jorkins from the Ministry of Magic, there is nothing noteworthy for the time being," Jins said. "But because Crouch's disappearance is rather strange, Percy Weasley was rescinded as acting referee and replaced by Cornelius Fudge." "That's not bad," Adrian shrugged. "I don't think Fudge has any ability, but compared with Percy Weasley, who has a higher heart than the sky, he still knows the time." Aaron and his thought body sat opposite each other. The Black Shadow Ninja stood aside respectfully, ready to fetch whatever the two masters needed at any time. Nijia Mask, Bianhua, 10 bullets made of unicorn feathers, 10 bullets made of hippogriff feathers, 10 bullets made of thestral tail feathers, 10 bullets made of phoenix tail feathers. Ghost crystal supplemented with 3 bullets made of thunderbird tail feathers. The thought body counted the items on the table, feeling both speechless and a little helpless. I know this third project is very important. Your preparation seems a bit excessive, don't you think? Even without counting me, with your current mana, you can only fire 12 shots at most before you're left defenseless, the thought body remarked. Aaron corrected him. That's assuming I use full force for each shot. If I infuse less mana, I can fire 20, 30, 50 shots, or even more. Stop right there, the thought body interrupted hastily. I can accept 50 shots. The bullets you fire are more powerful than spells cast with the same amount of magic, but if you claim you can fire 100 shots, the power would still surpass that of a curse, Aaron insisted. But it's wasteful, the thought body retorted, rolling its eyes. These aren't the training bullets we usually use, which can be easily transformed with the transfiguration technique. The cheapest main material here is copper gnat, and many are made of gold gallon and silver sickle, plus the feathers of magical creatures and the enchantments I've painstakingly applied. Each shot is like throwing money away. I understand, Aaron said seriously, then shifted the topic. But do you think our eldest sister can handle everything? Don't forget, my encounters in the first 2 tasks were far more challenging than expected, and the third task is even harder. To win the championship, the last one to touch the trophy must be the champion. To meet these harsh conditions, all the warriors must be dealt with, and everyone must touch the trophy at the same time. This way, they either tie for the championship or the winner is decided based on the scores from the first 2 events. The maze is full of enemies, and that's the best-case scenario. If Adrian arranges some surprises for me, it could be much worse. The thought body clicked its tongue, acknowledging the possibility. After a moment of hesitation, it signaled to the Black Shadow Ninja to bring a box of ammunition. These are bullets made from unicorn feathers, thestral tail feathers, and hippogriff feathers, 50 rounds each, all double enchanted. This is half of our current stock, so use them sparingly. Aaron blinked. Unless it's an emergency, I won't use the other shore flower. There are too many eyes watching, but I won't hesitate when the time comes. Chapter 397, The Moving Maze That Blocks the Shortcut, The Map in the Treasure Chest, June 24th, 7 p.m. The teachers and students of Hogwarts, representatives of Beauxbatons and Durmstrang, the families of the warriors, and the referees all gathered in the auditorium of the remodeled Quidditch pitch. Professor Flitwick used his wand to direct the band, which played passionate music, while the girls from Beauxbatons sang cheerful songs. The entire venue was extremely lively. Amos Diggory jumped into the stadium like a child, excitedly opening his right arm to welcome his son. Cedric, however, looked a bit embarrassed. Karkaroff and Maxim each led Krum and Fleur into the stadium, while Jins walked respectfully behind Aaron. Harry was the last to enter, accompanied by Dumbledore and Lupin. 20-foot hedges surrounded the field, with several identical entrances displayed in front of everyone. The dark passages were mixed with a trace of mist, and the faint sounds of neighing and roaring wild animals could be heard. "Be quiet," Dumbledore said from the podium, using an amplifying spell. Professor Moody hid the Triwizard Tournament trophy in the maze this morning. Whoever finds the trophy first will be the champion. The order of entering the maze is determined by the sum of the scores from the first 2 tasks. Aaron Gaius will go first, followed by Harry Potter, Victor Krum, Cedric Diggory, and Fleur Delacour. We have people patrolling the perimeter. If a player wants to quit, they just need to shoot a red spark from their wand. "I'm afraid I won't even have a chance to fire sparks," Aaron said abruptly. "They may not be able to, but the young master certainly can," Jin said confidently. He had immense faith in Aaron. The countless extreme escapes in the family secret room had almost trained Aaron's instincts. No matter how dangerous this maze was, he wouldn't need to send out a distress signal. "Whether I can or not, I don't want to quit the game," Aaron replied. Players, come here now. Please hurry up, Dumbledore called. The 5 warriors immediately approached him. Lowering his voice, he said, "There will be no dragons in the maze, and no deep water monsters, but you will face even greater challenges. Certain things will change when you enter the maze." "Wait," Aaron interrupted, his expression somewhat unnatural. "Professor, you said that the maze will change. Can it actually move?" Dumbledore nodded. This was Miss Klein's suggestion. She said her younger brother has an excellent memory and could find the most correct and simplest path just by walking it once. For the sake of fairness, she applied magic to the maze. Except for the place where the trophy is stored in the middle, the other positions will change from time to time. Aaron was dumbfounded, and the other 4 warriors looked at each other, surprised and sympathetic. They hadn't expected Aaron to have such a memory, nor did they expect Adrian to be so cunning, effectively blocking his brother's shortcut. "Do your best to find the trophy, but be careful. You may lose yourself along the way. Aaron will go in first after the cannon fires, and the others will follow when notified by a whistle," Dumbledore said, then turned and walked towards the referee's seat. "Aaron, your sister is really—" Cedric trailed off, unable to find the right adjective, and simply gave a thumbs up in a daze. "Heh," Aaron chuckled bitterly, the brilliance in his eyes dimming. To be honest, he had been mentally prepared for Adrian to set up obstacles for him in the maze. He had memorized the route in advance, confident that no matter how hard the obstacles were, he could overcome them. As long as he was the first to find the trophy, he would win more than half of the competition. But he never expected the first step to be so difficult. If the maze could move, the combined advantages of the first 2 tasks would only allow him to take a few fewer detours. Others. "How about we cooperate?" Furong suggested with a charming smile. "In short, you also want to be he last to touch the trophy. Why don't you help me win the championship? I'll share half of the bonus with you, so you can still feel a sense of participation." The pupils of the other 3 shrank slightly, and they cursed themselves internally. If only they had thought of this idea. With the moving maze and various dangerous animals, the difficulty of the 3rd project was self-evident. Having a strong teammate in this situation was invaluable. "Gaius," Cedric coughed a little embarrassedly, "I think it is necessary to remind you that you are a Hogwarts warrior. Hufflepuffs and Slytherins aren't exactly on good terms, but they're not enemies either, are they?" Just as Harry was about to say something, he met Aaron's piercing gaze and couldn't help but swallow his words. "Don't get me wrong, the championship is not important, but in terms of safety, I think we should cooperate." Although Moody, Lupin, and Dumbledore were guarding the maze, he still had some doubts about the 3rd event. Who knew what the secret Death Eaters might use to deal with him? If Aaron was willing to help him, then the safety aspect would be foolproof. If he was lucky, he might even compete for the championship, becoming the youngest champion of the Triwizard Tournament. Just thinking about it made him excited. I don't want all the bonuses," Crumb said cautiously. Brother, it's better not to open your mouth." "We don't know each other very well," Aaron interrupted. "I also saved Luna Lovegood in the 2nd event," Crumb emphasized. Aaron pursed his lips, took a deep breath, and said, "Understood, I will repay the favor, but helping you win the championship is another matter." "Can't you?" Crumb frowned slightly. "I figured out a way. The last one to touch the trophy is also the champion. It's just that the process is a lot more exciting, and it may be so exciting that I doubt life." Boom, cannons sounded. Adrian pressed his wand against his neck. "Now, let's invite our first warrior to enter. By the way, a friendly reminder, to increase the fun of the game, I placed many different kinds of treasure chests in the maze. The treasure chests will provide help for the warriors to reach the center of the maze, but getting the clues depends on the luck and ability of the warriors. Without further ado, I wish you all the best of luck." Aaron froze for a moment, then walked into the entrance of the maze amid the applause and cheers of the audience. Adrian smiled slightly, pointed his wand high into the sky, and 5 projections appeared outside the maze so that all the audience could enjoy the performance of the warriors. But now the game had just started, and among the 5 projections, only Aaron's was lit. The rest were pitch black. The moment Aaron stepped into the maze, the sound of the outside world was cut off, and he could only hear his own breathing and heartbeat. Following the correct route in his mind, he took a deep breath and started running fast. But within half a minute, the hedges on both sides began to squeeze in the middle, forcing him to change his route and turn into an unknown fork. Here he saw a wooden treasure chest and paths to the left and right. Open or not open? Aaron was caught in a dilemma, and other warriors outside the field also watched this scene curiously. Adrian had said that the treasure chest would provide help, but there was no free lunch in the world. The contents of this treasure chest were of great reference value to them. Just then, the whistle sounded suddenly. "Enter Harry Potter," Ludo Bagman announced loudly. "What?" Harry froze for a moment, looking at Aaron's projection screen with a complicated expression. "Can I go in later?" "This." Bagman hesitated for a moment, then turned to look at the other referees, as if asking for their opinions. "Yes, but not beyond the final whistle," Adrian said indifferently. "Thank you," Harry replied, feeling a sudden sense of relief. "There is nothing wrong with ranking low," Furong laughed. "I think so," Cedric nodded. "Through these projection screens, those who enter the maze later will know more clues and won't be in a hurry to deal with danger." Aaron heard the whistle and finally made up his mind. He couldn't wait any longer. The opportunity was his only advantage, and he couldn't be held back by a box. Arajo Cave is open. Aaron stood 10 meters away and cast an unlocking spell at the wooden treasure chest. The chest opened with a weird cry, and a wet paw stretched out, followed by an extremely disgusting black-robed monster flying into the air. "Gift crab!" Aaron yelled and cursed. A large number of spectators outside the court couldn't help but panic. It was a Dementor, a real Dementor, and the hedge was covered with white frost the instant it appeared. Harry was dumbfounded, but soon relieved. He knew the Patronus charm, and a Dementor could still be handled. It would be easier for him if every treasure chest contained a Dementor. "Ahem!" Fudge stood up and explained with amplifying spells, "Don't worry, everyone. The Dementors will not leave the maze. They will return to Azkaban after the Triwizard Tournament." "I hope there will be no accidents," Lupin said with some concern. "There won't be," Moody said relaxedly. "The few spells Harry has learned so far are enough for him, and Gaius is also in there." Lupin nodded. He had also taught Harry the Patronus charm, but he was always a little uneasy. "Expecto Patronum." Aaron chanted the Patronus charm, and the silver-white light repelled the Dementors to another aisle. He walked to the treasure chest, which contained a map of the maze, marking his location and the Triwizard Tournament trophy. He had only walked less than a tenth of the way. Additionally, there was a line of words below the map. "The maze will move again within 30 seconds. Please hurry up." 30, 29, 28. The changing numbers made Aaron's pupils tremble. He spent 15 seconds analyzing the correct route close to the center position and ran fast in the remaining 15 seconds. Chapter 398, Treasure Chests and an Increasingly Dangerous Maze. "I think I understand," Harry said thoughtfully as he watched the scene unfold. "The treasure chest is the key." "The treasure chest is indeed the key, but—" Crumb paused, then continued solemnly, "the Dementor hasn't disappeared. It's still wandering in the maze." The other three exchanged uneasy glances. They quickly realized the implications, and their expressions grew grim. Aaron had opened a chest and obtained a 30-second map, but he had also released a Dementor. If he opened another chest, there would be 2 Dementors in the maze. The number of Dementors would increase as the warriors obtained more clues. Worse still, the chests might contain other dangerous creatures, like Hagrid's blast-ended Scroots, which hadn't appeared yet. No wonder Dumbledore had advised them to release red sparks if they wanted to exit. The maze would only become more dangerous over time. "Could I exit the game by releasing the red sparks right after entering?" Harry asked, half-jokingly. "What did you say?" Moody approached him angrily. "Did I just hear a coward say he wants to quit the game?" "No, Harry stammered. "I was just joking." "Then don't talk nonsense." Moody pulled him towards the maze entrance and said earnestly, "To be honest, I'm a little disappointed, Harry Potter. You're a Gryffindor, and Gryffindors don't back down from challenges. If James and Lily knew their son was considering quitting, they wouldn't rest in peace." Hearing this, Harry clenched his fists, and his eyes became resolute. "I won't quit." "Very good." Moody patted him on the shoulder and lowered his voice. "I know you're worried someone might tamper with the third task, but trust me, trust Lupin, and trust Dumbledore. We won't let anyone harm you. So, promise me, don't give up until you absolutely can't go on." Harry nodded seriously, took a deep breath, and walked into the maze. At that moment, Bagman blew his whistle. "Victor Krum can enter." Krum glanced at the projection screen and then strode towards the entrance. As he passed Moody, the two exchanged a brief, knowing look. The maze had shifted for the second time, rendering the map in Aaron's hand useless. Its only function now was to estimate his distance from the trophy. Using the Quidditch pitch as a reference, Aaron calculated that he was about 400 meters away from the trophy. However, he didn't dare to move recklessly and proceeded cautiously. After navigating several forks, he heard the sound of sparks exploding nearby, growing closer. "Is that a blast-ended Scroot?" Aaron thought, recognizing the sound from Hagrid's care. Aaron snapped his fingers, casting an illusion to hide himself. He then created a phantom that quickly ran to another fork, leading the Scroot in the opposite direction. The third whistle sounded, and Cedric entered the maze. After 2 forks, he found a silver treasure chest and used the unlocking charm from a distance. The chest contained no creatures, only a piece of parchment. Cedric raised an eyebrow and opened it, revealing a map of the maze with a note. "The maze will move again in 1 minute. Please hurry up." The parchment also showed the locations of Aaron, Harry, and Krum. "Seems like I'm lucky." Cedric smiled and quickened his pace, following the map's guidance. Outside the maze, Fleur realized that not every chest was dangerous. However, her relief was short-lived. She saw Harry confronting a boggart and Krum facing a 2-meter-tall acromantula. Her concern deepened as the maze's dangers became increasingly apparent. Chapter: The Maze Challenge. Aaron felt a toothache as he waited anxiously at the entrance. The number of dangerous animals had increased by 2, but she was still waiting, and the anticipation was getting to her. Finally, when the final whistle sounded, it felt like hearing the sounds of nature. She rushed into the maze eagerly, not waiting for Bagman's explanation. The sky was getting dark, and the hedge walls of the maze were at least 6 or 7 meters high. Gauge. Coupled with the thin white mist, the warriors had to use the Lumos spell to see the path clearly. As Aaron walked, he drew a precise route map in his mind, trying to get as close to the end as possible before the maze changed again. After turning a few corners, a silver treasure chest appeared in front of him. Alohomora! Without hesitation, Aaron opened the box. A pungent smell immediately spread in all directions, followed by the sound of bubbles bursting. A giant troll, about 4 meters tall, slowly stood up, holding a long wooden stick in its hand. "Great," Aaron muttered, holding his forehead and shaking his head. He hadn't expected such a creature to be in the competition maze. The troll quickly advanced towards Aaron, a ferocious sneer on its face. Snap! Aaron snapped his fingers, not bothering to take out his wand, and turned around to speed away. The giant troll immediately launched a chase, its heavy footsteps echoing throughout the maze. After the troll ran off, Aaron emerged from the shadows. Trolls are aggressive and destructive, but their low IQ makes them easy to evade with illusions. They pose the least threat to him. He took out a Marauder's map, similar to Cedric's, from the silver box. Looking at the silver box meaningfully, he smiled. It seems the treasure chests are ranked in tiers. The wooden treasure chest contained an ordinary map with a 30-second rote filter, while the silver treasure chest held a Marauder's map, including the positions of the warriors, and the maze movement time was doubled accordingly. Aaron deduced that the treasure chests and maze movements were divided into overall and partial movements. Otherwise, if the time for the warriors to get the map was not much different, the frequency of the maze movement would be too high. He followed the Marauder's map to find the correct route. After more than 10 minutes, the maze map was covered by several warriors, and everyone approached the center in an orderly manner. Aaron was the closest, estimating the distance to the trophy to be less than 100 meters. Harry and Cedric were tied for second, about 150 meters away from the center, and Krum and Fleur were also less than 200 meters away. But now, they were not as relaxed as they were at the beginning. In addition to the maze moving from time to time, the fried-tailed snails and giant scorpions hidden within it also showed up one after another. These behemoths, like scavengers, had great lethality and certain magic resistance, forcing the warriors to avoid them. Coupled with the fact that they each opened about 3 treasure chests, releasing a dozen dangerous magical animals, the maze became even more perilous. Aaron opened a silver treasure chest in a dead end. No strange creatures were released, only a mirror inside, the mirror of Erised, which reflects the deepest desire of the heart. Goodness, they even brought out this old antique, Aaron remarked as he approached the magic mirror. It reflected his own appearance. After a moment, Aaron in the mirror pointed to his feet. Aaron bent down and picked up a marauder's map instantly. The map showed he was 3 corners away from the finish and had a minute to go. Feeling relieved, Aaron noted the distance was less than 50 meters, and a minute was enough to walk. But just in case, he quickened his pace. However, an unexpected event occurred as he passed through several corners. Aaron stopped at the final exit, his eyes fixed on a circular open space just 20 meters away. There, the trophy of the Triwizard Tournament stood, surrounded by 3 golden dragons. The crystal blue light emanating from the trophy flashed intermittently. However, a sphinx made of yellow sand blocked the exit. The creature was enormous, its limbs resembling stone pillars, and it was as tall as the hedges on either side, even while lying on the ground. Answer my question. If you guess correctly, you can pass. If you guess wrong, you will be eaten by me. If you don't guess, you will have to change your path. The Sphinx spoke, its voice extremely hoarse. My time is limited. You'd better hurry up, Aaron said impatiently. I didn't exist in the past, but I will always exist. No one has seen my face, and I am the living pursuit of all life. What am I? An abstract answer. Fortunately, I know a friend who likes riddles very much, and the answer is tomorrow. Correct answer. The Sphinx turned into yellow sand and dissipated, revealing the final path. Aaron shrugged and walked towards the finish line. The Triwizard Tournament trophy was placed on a pedestal, shining seductively. The audience outside watched the scene with bated breath. Professor Flitwick even raised his baton, ready to play music at any moment. It seems that the champion of the Triwizard Tournament has been decided, Bagman said excitedly. After more than a century, we are about to witness history. In the middle of his speech, Bagman's voice stopped abruptly. Aaron didn't go to claim the trophy. Instead, he sighed, sat silently beside the pedestal, and waited quietly for the others to arrive. Miss Klein, did you arrange this? Dumbledore asked with a meaningful smile. I just ensured he would touch the trophy last, but there is only one way to win the championship under this premise, Miss Klein replied. Dumbledore froze for a moment, then said in surprise, all the warriors must touch the trophy together, but this... He has to convince the others, Adrian interjected, or persuade them. Miss Klein is truly eclectic, Fudge laughed. Using a wizard duel as the final challenge, most people wouldn't think of such a clever idea. I believe the audience will be thoroughly entertained today. Maybe, Adrian said nonchalantly. I've also arranged something else to make this final project more interesting, but I'm not sure if it will come into play. Chapter 399, The Civet in the Golden Treasure Chest, a Group of Manticores. In the center of the maze, Aaron yawned, feeling a bit bored. He sat next to the pedestal, not looking at the trophy, but at a golden treasure chest placed in the corner. A contemptuous smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He didn't know what magical creatures were in the golden treasure chest, but he was sure it contained a more detailed marauder's map. Having already reached the finish line, he could sit back and wait for the others, persuading them to cooperate with him. It would be beneficial for everyone to tie for the championship of the Triwizard Tournament together. As for the treasure chest full of uncertainties, only a fool would open it, no matter how tempting it seemed. Just as Aaron was thinking this, a scream pierced the silence around him. It was obvious someone was running for their life in embarrassment. Great gift crab, this bitch did it on purpose. Aaron stood up abruptly and used the unlocking spell on the golden treasure chest. At the same time, he made up his mind never to set a flag casually in the future. Now, he was the fool opening the treasure chest. But there was no other choice. He had thought of everything but ignored the warrior's ability. Not having any major accidents was also one of Adrian's conditions. If he really wanted to die, then after the holiday, he would have to go home and go on a blind date. When the treasure chest was opened, there was no huge monster inside, but a black cat the size of a lion, with a sharp beak and fangs, and strange blue light in its pupils. It popped out. A civet cat. This is borrowed from the Ministry of Magic. Aaron was very speechless. This was definitely Adrian's doing. It wasn't that he looked down on Fudge, but the Minister of Magic never made any serious decisions. The civet looked at Aaron, opened its mouth full of fangs, and rushed over with a run-up. Stupefy. The blue light hit the civet, but it split into three the moment it hit the ground. The three civet cats stared at Aaron aggressively, slowly approaching him from three directions. If it were normal circumstances, I would really want to play with you, but I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry. As Aaron spoke, he waved his wand, and three earthen cages rose from the ground, locking the civet inside. Then, he quickly ran to the treasure chest and took out a marauder's map from it. Unsurprisingly, this map contained extremely detailed records. In addition to the various routes of the maze and the specific locations of the warriors, it also showed the locations of various dangerous magical creatures. The most important thing was that this map had no time limit and was valid until the end of the game. As expected of a treasure chest, the items it contains are reliable, but hiss. Are these people so competitive? Aaron glanced at the map briefly and couldn't help but gasp. He saw more than 20 Dementors, 2 blast-ended Scroots, 7 Boggarts, 6 Acromantulas, 3 giant crabs, and 5 giant monsters on the map. This maze, rebuilt according to the Quidditch pitch, wasn't too big or too small, but it was still a bit cramped to accommodate so many magical creatures. The warriors would almost encounter a magical creature after turning a few corners. If it was a Dementor or a Boggart, they could use special spells to deal with it. But for other creatures, they would have to run away immediately. After all, their magic power wasn't unlimited, and it took too much effort to subdue a huge monster. If their magic power was insufficient when encountering other dangers, they could only wait to die. But to find the correct path, they had to keep opening the boxes, and the number of dangerous creatures would increase accordingly. The longer it took, the greater the danger. Aaron found Fleur's location on the map. She was running fast in the maze, and the place where she accidentally hit was the closest to the center. The name of the magical creature she encountered was... The animal marked on her back was a manticore, a creature that appeared to be a cross between a crab, a lobster, and a scorpion. It's not too far. Aaron silently calculated the distance, following the screams and the map to find it. Before leaving the center of the maze, he untied the 3 cages holding the civets and cast several spells to multiply their numbers. He needed to defend his position as the champion, and setting up a barrier would take too long. Besides Fleur, the other 3 contestants were not far from the finish line, and Harry and Cedric seemed to be walking side by side. If someone else claimed victory while he was saving someone, he would have no one to blame but himself. Aaron turned left, then right, then left again, and went straight. Furong's screams grew clearer, accompanied by the sound of dense footsteps that made his skin crawl. The fluorescent spell illuminated the path ahead, revealing Furong in blue sportswear, her face covered in sweat and panic. "Run! Run!" Furong shouted hoarsely. "Behind! Manticore! I know! No, it's not! Anyway, run! It's just a manticore. Even if it's bigger, I can still..." Aaron stopped mid-sentence, swallowing hard. He finally understood why Furong was in such a mess. She wasn't followed by a single manticore, but a swarm of them, 100 strong. Each manticore was the size of a crab and had a certain magic resistance. Even adult wizards would flee from such a sight. "What kind of luck do you have?" Aaron asked as he moved towards the finish line with Fleur. "How should I know?" Furong cried, nearly in tears. "I just opened a silver treasure chest, and then a group of monsters came out. They were harder to deal with than Grindylows at the bottom of the lake. Don't talk about it. Just run. If they catch up, we'll be eaten alive. I have a way to deal with them, but there's one small condition." Aaron said. Furong froze for a moment, her expression turning sour. She knew very well what boys found most attractive about her. You should know you can't outrun them on your own, Aaron continued. So, what do you think? Furong hesitated for a moment, then quickly kissed Aaron on the cheek, blushing. Satisfied? Aaron was momentarily stunned, caught off guard by the sudden kiss. Outside the stadium, hundreds of spectators watched the scene with various reactions. Draco's eyes widened, and he silently gave a thumbs up to the screen. Ron looked at Aaron enviously, unconsciously touching his own face. Hermione, sitting next to him, had burning eyes and was breathing a little heavily. Adrian and Jins exchanged amused glances, enjoying the unexpected twist in the game. Don't wait, they're about to catch up, Furong shouted anxiously. Actually, that wasn't my condition, Aaron said, embarrassed. You're too greedy, Furong snapped. A kiss isn't enough? You want to formally date me, be my boyfriend? Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. I didn't mean to take advantage of you. Let's focus on the immediate problem first. I'll explain later. Let's deal with this first. Aaron snapped his fingers, using an illusion to cover their figures while casting their illusions onto the aisle. The phantom figures didn't run but made exaggerated movements. As their limbs trembled, the manticores were drawn in the completely opposite direction. Is this solved? Furong asked, bewildered. Furong found it hard to believe, but she was extremely embarrassed by this group of creatures. If you read a bit more, you would know that manticores mimic human movements. It just makes them stop attacking. It's not that easy to actually get rid of them. Furong regained her composure and looked at Aaron. What was the condition you mentioned earlier? Giving up the championship. Well, strictly speaking, it's not really giving up, Aaron said bluntly. I mean all 5 warriors touching the trophy together. Huh? Furong's eyes widened slightly as she immediately understood his plan. This is your plan? Everyone ties for the championship, and I can fulfill all the conditions. No one loses, Aaron said solemnly. I still want to stick to it. Hey, hello, are you so shameless? Aaron wasn't surprised by her attitude and directly showed her the Marauder's map in his hand. Where did you dig this out from? Furong asked in surprise. If she had this map, she might have already won the championship. I've been waiting for you for a long time. If it wasn't for hearing your screams, I wouldn't have come here. So, I'm already a champion in a sense. Furong was silent for a moment. Okay, I agree to your conditions, but what about the others? I will convince them. If it doesn't work, I'll have to persuade them. However, I can only give you half of the 1,000 galleons prize because I've spent a lot of money these days and really can't make ends meet. Furong forced a smile and returned the map to Aaron. I think we need to hurry. Harry and Cedric are only 2 corners away from the finish line. Aaron curled his lips, but wasn't too worried. After all, he had already multiplied the number of civets when he left the center of the maze, which was equivalent to having a dozen powerful and swift beasts guarding the trophy. The 2 of them alone would definitely not be able to subdue those civet cats for a while. If they attacked with magic, their number would double, making it difficult for them to protect themselves, let alone compete for the trophy. Many magical creatures, he should be fine. Aaron shook his head. It's not that simple. Crumb's movements are too erratic. It's almost as if he's avoiding something or someone. Just as Aaron finished speaking, a loud rustling noise came from the bushes nearby. Everyone turned their heads in unison, wands at the ready. Out of the foliage stumbled Victor Krum, looking disheveled and panicked. Victor, Fleur exclaimed, rushing to his side. What happened? Krum took a moment to catch his breath, his eyes wide with fear. It's Moody. He's not who he says he is. He attacked me. Aaron's eyes narrowed. Are you sure? Krum nodded vigorously. He used the Imperious Curse on me. I managed to break free, but he's still out there. Harry's face turned pale. We need to get out of here. If Moody is an imposter, we can't trust anyone. Aaron quickly formulated a plan. All right, everyone stay close. We'll head to the trophy together. It's our best chance to get out of this maze safely. The group moved cautiously, keeping their wands at the ready. As they approached the trophy, the air grew tense. They could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Finally, they reached the center of the maze, where the Tri-Wizard Cup stood gleaming on a pedestal. Aaron gestured for everyone to gather around it. On the count of 3, we all touched the trophy together. Aaron instructed. 1, 2, 3. As their hands made contact with the cup, a familiar tugging sensation pulled them forward, and the maze disappeared in a whirl of colors. They landed in the middle of the Hogwarts grounds, surrounded by a crowd of spectators and judges. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Aaron quickly raised his hand to silence them. "There's something you all need to know," he announced. "Mad-Eye Moody is an imposter. He attacked Victor Krum in the maze." Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. Dumbledore stepped forward, his expression grave. "We will investigate this matter immediately. Thank you for your bravery and quick thinking." As the judges and professors moved to secure the area and apprehend the imposter, Aaron, Harry, Cedric, Fleur, and Krum stood together, a sense of camaraderie and relief washing over them. "We did it," Cedric said, a tired but triumphant smile on his face. "Yes, we did," Aaron agreed. "And now, we can finally rest." The group made their way back to the castle, knowing that they had not only completed the Triwizard Tournament, but had also uncovered a dangerous plot. Their journey had been fraught with challenges, but they had emerged stronger and more united than ever. It shouldn't be difficult to escape calmly, Aaron reassured himself, though a sense of unease lingered. "Something's not quite right," he muttered. At that moment, the maze began to shift. The hedge walls near the center remained still, but rustling sounds emerged from other areas. On the Marauder's map, Krum's movements accelerated. He seemed to know the exact route, sparks and lightning marking his path as he bypassed all the magical creatures, quickly approaching the finish line. This shouldn't be. Aaron's frown deepened. If Krum had such abilities, he should have won the trophy long ago. Why was he the last one to arrive? A sense of foreboding haunted Aaron, suggesting something was wrong with Krum. But looking at the Triwizard Tournament trophies, he dismissed his worries. The game was being watched by hundreds. Even if Krum had ill intentions, he could only suppress them. Besides, Aaron's current strength made him confident. Unless the Dark Lord was resurrected, few could make him feel afraid. As Aaron set aside his concerns, Krum reached the finish line, panting. He looked at the 3 men and 1 woman sitting next to the trophy, his expression complicated. "Is the game over?" he asked. "Not yet, but soon," Cedric shrugged. "We've been waiting for you for several minutes." "Let's touch the trophy together," Harry suggested. "The game isn't officially over, but we've already lost. Now we're due. Stand helping Aaron meet certain conditions." Krum nodded, dazed, and didn't argue, as if it was the natural course of action. The 5 of them surrounded the Triwizard Tournament trophy. "I'll count to 3, 2, 1. Let's touch the trophy together," Aaron instructed. The others extended their hands, just a palm's width away from the trophy. 3, 2, 1. As Aaron's voice trailed off, he noticed Krum's weird smile. His pupils seemed devoid of color, like a marionette. Aaron's heart pounded wildly, but it was too late. Their feet left the ground, the wind whistled in their ears, and the scene around them spun rapidly. The audience outside the field stared blankly, unable to react to the sudden turn of events, thinking the referee had set up another test. "Portkey." Adrian stood up from the referee's seat, her face cold. "Professor Dumbledore, I hope you can explain why the Triwizard Tournament trophy has become a portkey?" "Isn't this your arrangement?" Dumbledore asked, puzzled. "I don't remember making such an arrangement," Adrian sneered. "The trophy was placed in the maze by Hogwarts staff, and they were responsible for checking the venue." Dumbledore froze, as if realizing something. He turned and scanned the maze. "Alastor? You?" "I don't know what's going on," Moody roared, anxious and angry. "Please, Uncle Jins," Adrian requested. Jins waved his wand expressionlessly. That and a flash of white light hit Moody, sending him flying over the hedgerow of the maze. Moody got up in a panic, his face changing from worry and anxiety to a ferocious sneer. "When did you find out I was an imposter?" he asked. "I didn't find anything specific. I just didn't want to let any suspects go," Adrian replied indifferently. "Dumbledore trusts you, but you are indeed the most suspect." "Sir, can you tell me where you sent my young master?" Adrian demanded. "He won't be in danger for the time being, but others may not be so lucky, especially Harry Potter." The fake Moody laughed loudly, his sick laughter making the audience nervous. "Who are you?" Dumbledore asked, suppressing his anger. "Where is Alastor?" "For some reason, I still need him, so he is still alive." Polyjuice potion? Dumbledore guessed. The fake Moody didn't deny it, just looked at him mockingly. Goodbye, Dumbledore. I'm going to meet my master. It's not that easy to leave, Gins declared, waving his wand with a stern expression. A blue light shot out from his wand, striking the fake Moody. The impostor raised his wand to counterattack, but the scarlet spell he cast was effortlessly overpowered by the blue light. He was thrown backward, landing atop the hedge. Ha ha! Very strong. I'm truly no match for you, the fake Moody said, enduring the severe pain and wiping the blood from his forehead. But it's too late. The Dark Lord is about to make a comeback. He will establish a new order. With those words, he jumped into the maze and disappeared from sight. Professor Dumbledore, please organize the scene, Gins instructed briefly, then struck his wand heavily on the ground. Green waves of magic swept forward, spreading throughout the entire maze. In an instant, the walls of the labyrinth began to rotate, their speed increasing and then decreasing, forming a giant green vortex. The entire audience watched in astonishment. Even Dumbledore was visibly surprised. The level of magic Gins displayed was extraordinary, far beyond that of an ordinary great magister. After a while, the vortex expelled the Dementors, Trolls, Manticores, and other magical creatures from the maze. They stood there trembling, too frightened to move. Finally, the figure of the fake Moody appeared at the very center of the vortex, entangled by countless green hedges and covered in wounds. Quickly imprisoned, Lupin conjured a rope, pulling the impostor up. He then pointed his wand at the man's forehead. Where's Harry? Do you think I'll tell you? Harry Potter is the one the Dark Lord seeks, the fake Moody sneered. Lupin gritted his teeth in frustration, contemplating how to force the truth out of him when Dumbledore approached. Severus has Veritaserum, and I believe Fudge will grant provisional approval, Dumbledore said. Ah? Fudge was momentarily stunned, but quickly nodded. Yes, approved. It must be approved. You have no chance, the fake Moody said proudly. The time is almost up. As he spoke, his body twisted a few times and then vanished, as if he had been swallowed by the center of a storm.